Smokin Gunz podcast. Philip Higginbotham, Leo Yamas, RC Woods, hanging out with you and talking about football in San Antonio. We are a football podcast. We deal with professional football in San Antonio, centered around the San Antonio Brahmas of the XFL. Yeah, that's it for this week. No, we also cover the San Antonio Gunslingers of the NAL. We will talk briefly about them today, but this is going to be a heavy XFL show because
I wonder why.
we just had a game.
Yep, that's right.
Lots
And
to
we
cover.
had a great time at the game, and we made friends at the game, and we're going to bring one of those friends on right away. He wasn't new. We didn't not know this guy before the game. Unfortunately, we've known him fortunately, we've known him for a while. I'm sorry, Dirty. I didn't mean. He is part of the X-Fan Show and the X-Fan Legion. We are proud to be partnering with them on a lot of different things. His name is Dirty. He hosts all kinds of stuff, and he is with us today. Dirty, what's going on, man?
Our frenemy.
A 14-hour drive. I'm still a little instead of being jet logged, how would you say it? Drive logged?
Yeah.
Still a little drive logged. But I look.
How much Red Bull did you drink?
Let's see. I had three 5-hour energy drinks and 4 energy drinks on top of that.
Dirty, I completely understand.
You were the only one driving?
No, Dave drove for like 2 hours, and then they stopped at In-N-Out, and then they went into a food coma, and then I drove the rest of the way. But I rewatched all the games, so
I fully understand your pain. I had to drive back home yesterday too. I did not get home until like 9:30, so I understand. I understand your pain. I get it. I drove all the way back down here to the coast. Didn't get here till 9:30.
7:32 this morning is when I got home.
Yikes.
But you did the right thing, and you texted everybody. You let us know that you got there safe. That's the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you and Amanda came down. Y'all are the B-Hawk live show.
Yes.
You covered the Battle Hawks, the Battle Chickens.
There you go. Well, listen. If I'm not mistaken, I think I got a few of you guys to say, what was that? Call is the law in San Antonio.
Not here.
No.
Not here. No.
No, sir.
No. Yes, but yes, our Battle Chickens came down there, and I don't know how, but we pulled a win out of our
We're going to talk about how. Like, we're going to talk about that in our second segment, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit. So you've been there in 2020. You were there in St. Louis for the Battle Hawks and your tailgating and all of those things. You also came down this week, stopped off in Arlington and went to the game, the Arlington and Vegas game. You did that tailgate, and then you did our tailgate. And you seem to say that when it comes to tailgating, San Antonio's got it figured out. Am I wrong?
No, listen. What I got to say is, the way you guys have embraced your guys' team down there and everything in San Antonio is kind of like what we did here in 2020. Yeah, I mean, you guys just took to it. You took to it. You just you fell in love with this team, and the way that you guys just basically overtook your market as the show and getting the fans involved was just unbelievable. And that's what we did here in 2020. We did the grassroots movement just like you guys did down there. And when we started the show in 2018, we knew that local media wasn't going to cover the Battle Hawks because we just lost the Lambs and all that. Same with you guys with losing the Commanders from that defunct, what's that guy's name? Charlie's League, that guy who ripped everybody off, right? So
Tom Dundon?
Oh, yeah, that guy.
The Dundonator.
Right. But you guys did a grassroots movement. So, like, when XFL 3 came out, I started reaching out. Now, if this was in 2020, I would be blasting you guys trying to destroy you guys, right? Saying, hey, no, they're not the podcast. Don't listen to them. Only listen to us, right? But I realized this time it's about growing the fan bases all across the XFL because you just can't have 1-2 fan bases do everything like we had in 2020. So I started reaching out to other people in other cities. And I think I got in touch with you guys through Jason Leroy. He put me in touch with RC first.
Mhm.
We had RC on about the Brahmas, and then that's how I met Leo, and that's how I met you, Phil. And so that's how we did it, and that's how I've done it, and that's how I've been doing it. That's, well, not just me, but Arlington. That's how we've been doing it, is growing the fan bases and the connections. But yeah, I mean, you guys are unbelievable. Like, look, you notice my studio has still a bunch of Battlehawk stuff, right?
It
Right.
does.
Look, I didn't unpack my hats that I had with me, but I do got to say something. I do have some new. I have this
There you go.
to put
I
back
love
right
it.
here. Wait, it gets better for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You ready?
I was waiting for this.
I have to say, here's the nice
Nice.
snazzy flag
Nice.
rally towels. I don't know how I'm going to do that one just yet, but I'll figure it out somewhere, right? But I do got to give credit to my man, the dirty Toro that I helped name for you guys.
Okay.
He gave me something, and I'm actually quite honored that it was given to me, and I will proudly represent this in my studio, is this. So I got to stand up and do it. So let's see. Here we go.
Woo!
Wow.
I mean,
That's awesome.
Love it.
yeah, I just got to figure out how to fit it into my studio because it's going to take everything. It's going
You
to
can
take up the
cover-
entire space up.
Cover
Just
up that
cover up all
Battlehawk
blue and
stuff yeah,
white
back
stuff,
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need that.
Yeah, no.
Full size Brahma flag for Dirty
Yes.
in his studio. Those of you that are listening and going, I can't see it. I can't see it. We're telling you.
Here, I'll show you again. You ready? Here it is.
Yeah, but if they're listening tomorrow,
Oh, yeah.
they can't see this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. I'm an idiot. My bad.
There it is. The first use of the word idiot.
I used that a lot down there for the St. Louis fans, didn't I?
You use it a lot everywhere, Dirty. Let's be fair.
And
So,
look,
Be honest.
I am rocking my Rock the Dome shirt.
sure.
Okay.
But what I really should do is what I honestly think you guys should take this. And I know I called what I called your dome, but I'm not going to call it that on your guys' show out of respect to you guys. But you guys should take this shirt and whatever you guys say, because you guys rocked your dome. I mean, I will say this: your guys is 24,250, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was just as loud as the 29,000 that we had in the dome in 2020. You guys were literally that loud. I mean,
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. Like me and Amanda and Dave were talking about, we're like, they're louder than we were in 2020. And we had 5,000 more people than they did. I mean, It was just unreal how you guys were, man. Unreal. Big kudos to you guys.
Well,
So
I will touch about the loudness. So some of you might know that I know Jared Jones-Smith from the Commanders. He was in town, so I met up with him, and he told me that he told his team, "Look, it gets super loud. We have to take the lead right away because if we wait till the end, we're going to lose it." So he was already telling the team that it gets so loud there in the dome.
Yeah.
Boy, was he wrong, though.
Yeah. Take that lead early. That's the only way you're going to win. Take that lead early.
Or
Yeah,
the
for
last
those of
few
you-
seconds.
For those of you that don't know, Jared Jones-Smith, current offensive lineman, he plays tackle for the Battlehawks. He is, for the Battlehawks. He
75.
he was a starting tackle for the Commanders in that previous league. So that's how he knew from experience how crazy we can get in La Casa, as we're
That's
calling
right,
it
La
now.
Casa.
Because
There you go.
Yeah, rock La
the
Casa.
Rock La Casa. Yeah.
Rock the La Casa. That's what you guys should do. Rock the La Casa.
I like
shirts.
it. I like it.
I think that would be great.
So you got a chance to see Arlington and what they put out there, the very first game of XFL 3.0. What was your impression up there in the Dallas, in the Metroplex, in that area?
Oh, look, I don't want to bash Dallas because that's not what this is about. But
Right.
2020, the Dallas tailgating experience was so much better than this version this time. Like you guys have been to Arlington, Texas, right? Have you guys
Oh,
been
yeah.
up that way? Okay. So you know where they have the Texas Live at, right? Or the
Yes.
Texas symbol where you do the X. Like that whole area had nothing but bounce houses and it was blocked off for people to do tailgating stuff for like the kids. Like nothing. That entire area was empty. I mean, I was really, Jimmy over there with the Renegades did a great job for what he got there, but as a whole, it just wasn't nothing like it was in 2020. Nothing like it was in 2020. I was really, really disappointed about that.
In 2020, you made it there to Arlington for to Choctaw for some of the 2020 games. Is that right?
I was there for the Battlehawks and the Renegades game. Yes.
So tell me, did they block off that first 15 rows like they did in 2020 this time?
No. So here's why they did it this time, right? That is where the ESPN camera was.
Okay.
Okay. So that's why the first 15 rows are blocked off. Because they had the crane that moved around through there.
Right.
That's why that area was blocked off. Because a lot of people were complaining is like when the TV boom runs across there, like, oh, I can't see. So they didn't want to do that problem. So that's why it was blocked off like that this time around.
It looks bad on TV.
On TV, yeah.
But it looks bad.
Here's what you got to realize. With the USFL, we saw what the USFL did, right? And how their ratings were the way they were, right? In their hub cities. But are they really going for the TV product, or are we just standbys in a TV show? And they want to make it look full where the cameras are.
Right.
That's what you got to ask yourself. Me, I'm going to lean more towards the later, is that we're just extras in a TV production.
True, but they could put like little seat covers that say, and that way people will know why it's empty. You know what I mean? You like how in church they have the little reserve signs and okay, I can't sit here, right? If they did that, that would at least explain why it looks so empty.
Or do a green screen and then they could put advertising over there like Progressive.
Or
like
there you go.
Like they do in your favorite professional sports league, the NHL. They do that now with the dasher boards all around the NHL.
I might have to change that so early for that one.
So we wanted to talk about pregame sort of stuff, but before we even talk about Sunday or Saturday, I want to talk a little bit about the Player 54 show that ESPN has put together. Did you get a chance to watch the first episode, Dirty?
I did, and I actually liked it. Yeah, it was very good. I like the way they're doing it. And if you had listened to, can we just give like cheap plugs to other people?
Absolutely.
To Mark Perry over there at News Hub, he had Dean, the guy from the NFL Players Academy, and they had talked about that. They'd been filming this for 9 months, right? So this has been going for 9 months. And I really liked the way it looked. I liked the way they did it and the way they showed everything. And it's really going to get us to know some of our players that we're going to get to know. And that's what I'm really excited about. The first two guys, I didn't watch episode 2 yet, which is already out. But they focused on the kid from Houston, the cornerback from Houston, which, funny story. Do you guys know how that kid got there?
No, I know he was living in his car for a while, but I don't know how he wound up in Houston.
Not just living in his car. The kid was door dashing. He door dashed to get to the tryout, then didn't have enough money to stay in the hotel and had to go back out and door dash again to get more money to pay it to stay in his hotel. So this kid was sleeping in his car, door dashing just to get this opportunity. He made the team, and now he is the starting cornerback for the Houston Roughnecks, which I thought that was absolutely, I wish they'd have talked about that, but they didn't. So that's where it's really going to be interesting, is the players that we get to see and stuff like that. Like you guys, I know I could see one of my buddies is on here, the good doctor, his guy from Notre Dame, your guys' quarterback, who actually played. I was looking at your guys' page today. I think a lot of your fans are being unfair to Jake Kuhn. I think they're being a lot unfair to him. He did play better. He did play better than Jay McCarron until the last minute and a half. But it would be great to hear his story. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the running back you guys had that just bowled us over. We could stop.
Balaj.
Oh God, yeah, Balaj. It'd be great to hear his story. So I'm really looking forward to seeing those stories.
Cohen's line for yesterday was 25 for 36, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And I went through the first half and like a series so far, just writing down on my little pad here, 4 drops.
Yeah.
Big drops too. Big
he got
time.
the ball to the receiver. They just dropped it. So you add those in, and it's 29 of 36 for 200 and something yards.
And another touchdown.
He did just fine.
Oh, I agree. And if you looked at McCarron's numbers up until that point, right? Oh, there she is. There's the lovely Amanda.
Amanda checking in with us.
Yeah, the caffeine hyena.
Your partner in crime over there on B-Hawk Live.
Yeah,
I figured she'd be asleep.
No, she slept all the way home. But if you look at McCarron's stats all the way up until the almost the end of the fourth quarter, he'd only thrown for 61 yards.
Yeah, right.
61 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. And then now everybody's like, I saw somebody like, oh, McCarron ain't dead bad. He was the 6th best quarterback of this weekend. The 6th best. And that was only because of the last minute and a half.
Right.
That was it. And yeah.
So tell me what you guys got to do. I didn't get just tell everybody what happened yesterday. I wasn't going to go to the game. I wasn't going to go to San Antonio. I live 3 hours away. I'm a pastor, so Sunday mornings are kind of a big deal.
Phil, I live 14 hours away. I live 14 hours away. And
did you have to work that morning? Did you have to work that morning?
No, I had to drive. I had to get up at 2 a.m. to go to Arlington first and then come down to San Antonio.
So I'm sitting there watching the game that you were at, the Arlington and Vegas game. Perfectly happy with watching the game on TV on Sunday. And I just start getting that thing where I was like, I have to be there. I have to be there. I have to be there. So I walk in and I tell my wife, hey, I'm going to go to San Antonio tomorrow after church. And she goes, I don't know why it took you this long. I don't understand why you didn't set this up months ago. So I went and bought my ticket. I had to jump in the car. So service ends for me at 11 o'clock. It's a 3-hour drive. The game kicks off at 2. I got there at like 1:55. So I didn't get to do any of the tailgating this time. Hopefully I'll make it for some of the tailgating in some of the other games. I'm certainly going to have plenty of time on this next game that doesn't start until 9 o'clock in the evening, but we'll talk about that later. So tell me what you guys experienced, because all 3 of you were at the tailgate. You got some food. You had probably a drink or 2. You had a good time. Tell us about tailgating, because that's a big part of our show, and that's a big part of what we missed from the AAF Commander days was tailgating. So how did it go?
Well, I'll start.
Yeah.
I mean, we got there around 9 o'clock. I said I was going to get there at 9:30, but I got too excited and we had everything packed up. So we just got there and got in and there was already a bit of a crowd. I expected there would be some people there at 8:30 when the gates opened. But as we were setting up, that's when Dirty and Amanda and Dave rolled up and joined in on the fun. But making rounds, we were in Lot B. I never got a chance to make it over to Lot C, although I hear there was a lot of craziness going on over there. Although from what I hear, Lot B was better. Dirty can confirm. So Lot C,
Always
pick up your game next time. I know I see Ruben in there, and he's a Lot C'er. So you got to tell your buddies out there, Ruben, who's watching on Facebook, that they need to pick up their game on that side of the parking lot, because Lot B was owning it this past weekend, apparently.
Ruben is here, and I've got a bone to pick because he comments in the comments, "What's up, RC? What's up, Leo?" And all I have to say to that is, what are Dirty and I? Are we not worthy of a what's up?
Who knows the most important people?
I mean, look, why would you say what's up to me? I mean, I'm the frenemy,
You are not. You are our family.
No, so, I mean, Leo, are you done? Because I'll give you guys my experience, because I still get goosebumps over it.
I'll let you take it from here, and I'll chime in.
Take it from here.
I got stuff to say, but this ought to be good.
So, in 2020, I mean, our tailgates were huge. We sold out a bunch of lots around there, right? So we were actually supposed to come down with Viva Texas. What is his what is his name now?
Mariachi.
Jorge.
Yeah,
Mariachi,
Jorge,
yeah,
the
Jorge.
mariachi. We were supposed to come down with him, but I was supposed to get a special package that was supposed to come with me from my partner Arlington that got delayed in Atlanta. So we come down and I call Leo and I'm like, "Hey, we're here. I'm at lot B. Where you at?" He's like, "Oh, we're over off to the left. Look for here." And I'm like, "Okay." I come pulling in and boom, there he is. And I'm like, "Sweet." So we get out and I mean, I will tell you guys this. I just got to say the hospitality that the Brahmas fans showed and just the love from all of your guys' fans towards me and Amanda. I mean, I knew that we had some kind of a reach, but I didn't realize it was that much of a reach. Like, as we were trying to go through the parking lot and people just kept stopping us for pictures and saying, "Hey, you're Amanda and Dirty from that show." And I'm just, we really love you guys. Thank you for your guys' help. And I mean, I was very humbled and moved by it. And I mean, like, look, I mean, you can see I'm getting the goosebumps from it because I mean, it was just absolutely beautiful. I mean, one of the greatest experiences that I've had at a
Dirty,
at a
let's
tailgate.
be fair now. It's not very surprising that they would be nice to Amanda. She's an
No.
attractive female, but the fact that they would be nice to you, that's amazing.
Look, I was only really worried if RC and Leo and you guys were nice to me. I could care less if all the other fans were nice to me. I really only cared if you three were nice to me. I talked so much trash to Captain Brahma and
Sure.
Jorge and stuff like that all over. I talked a lot of trash to Jay and stuff like that, But no, I mean, your guys' tailgate was like in St. Louis. Like it was literally like you, hey, Ruben, you really do need to bring the heat, man. Because I'll tell you that lot B, that blew you guys out of the water. I was looking for that Tundra group to see them, didn't find them, so they didn't impress me because I didn't see them anywhere. But yeah, lot B, really. You guys knocked it out.
B
But
for Brahmas.
right? Like we were walking around and I saw these guys with these smokers, right? And they were powder coated with Brahma logos on it, and me and Amanda took pictures of them. And just unbelievable. Just, and then we had other Battlehawk fans. How you guys were like, "Hey, come on over, eat. You need some beer and you need some drinks here." St. Louis, we don't do that. We ain't that we ain't that hospital to people. We bring our own stuff.
I was surprised to hear that they don't share amongst each other with the food on that. Apparently, that's kind of a San Antonio thing. I asked some friends that tailgate at some other places in Denver and other places, and they've told me that's not the common tailgate experience. So kudos to San Antonio for being like that. I mean, you walk around our tailgate for a little while, you're gonna have like 5 or 6 tacos just shoved in your face. Like, here, try some of this.
Yeah, like I was going here. Oh, here, try this. I went over to Viva Texas. Jorge's had 3 tacos. Well, whatever your wife made me, Leo, Jesus.
I have to tell them
Lord
what that was.
Almighty. I have to have the recipe for that because that was literally like the great. Phil said he's a pastor, so I'm going to keep it clean. But that was like one of the greatest things I've ever tasted in my entire life.
Wow. What was it, Leo?
I don't know, but it was phenomenal. That's all I know.
Yeah, she's on right now, and I'm sure she'll appreciate that. But it was, first of all, it was barbacoa, right? But
what the heck is that?
Barbacoa it's beef, it's shredded beef, and it's actually from the cheek of the cow.
Yes.
It's a South Texas thing. It's very popular down here. It's really good. But she takes that barbacoa and she makes an egg omelet out of it. She does an omelet with the barbacoa in the middle, and then she'll put some like pico de gallo in it and cheese, and then our homemade chile colorado. So it's a red chili sauce that can really bite you if you're not too careful. That was a mild batch because we didn't want people we wanted people to enjoy it, that aren't used to that kind of hot, that heat.
You're so good. I'm starving now.
And thank you, Amanda, for the Brahma Mamas. We love you too.
Yeah, and then the Brahma Mamas, how they just embraced us, and it was just, it was a very humbling experience. Like I've felt that, I've seen it in St. Louis, but I hadn't seen it in other cities. Like when we went to the Arlington game in 2020, people knew who we were, but it was more harassing us, right? They're like, "Hey, Dirty, take shots with this." I was like, "Okay." That's how I ended up getting COVID because of that. In 2020, probably. They weren't offering me food. They were offering to get me drunk, and then almost got into a fight because some guys wanted to mess with my sons as we were leaving. But I mean, like, you guys were just, I mean, it was just unbelievable. And just, I mean, we felt very, very humbled and honored to even just be there, and to how you guys just accepted us and loved us. Yeah. And I played a card trick for some people, and it really messed them up. Really messed them up. So, yeah.
Amanda
Yeah.
checking in and giving a shout out to Leo's wife. Leo's wife's name is Dolores. She is so sweet. Please tell her hi for me. It is no secret, if you've listened to the Smokin Gunz podcast for any amount of time, that Dolores is the fourth member. She does not climb on a microphone very often, but she is, I think somebody gave me a hard time on your show, Dirty, when I said something about Leo was on there at the Alamo Beer event, and then we met his wife on camera, and I said something about she's better than Leo is, and somebody was like, "Ooh, he's throwing shade at Leo." No, I'm not. She just is.
Actually, it was me, Phil. I was saying, how can you throw shade at your own co-host?
I'm not. He knows it. Like,
wow.
I can't deny it. I mean, anybody's gonna say she's cooler than me, I'm just gonna agree with you, because it's the truth.
We love her. She's my podcast sister too. So
Amanda says, "Ask Dirty about my card trick." What's up with the card trick?
Yeah, what is up with that?
So we were over on Lot C. Pull up Ruben's comment for me, because see, Leo told me, "Hey, you got to go over and check out the Tundra Crew." I was like, "Okay, that's where I'm gonna go." Oh, I'm gonna go check out the Tundra Crew, right? I didn't see him, and I was walking with Amanda and Dave, and I saw these people playing some cards, and I was like, "Hey, can I do a card trick for you guys?" And they're like, "Well, we're in the middle of a drinking game." I'm like, "Look," I was like, "I'm just going to do a card trick real quick for you." They're like, "Okay." I said, "Shuffle the deck." Had the girl shuffle the deck, and I, told her cut the deck, whatever, and she cut it. Told her how to do it. I'm like, "All right, now I'm going to pick out 4 cards that are going to match your card." And so I did it. And as I gave her a card, I was like, "Okay, I'm going to walk away now," because they had the He Hate Me towels, which I already had some, but I wanted another one. So as I walked away, I said, "Oh, you can flip the cards over." They flipped the cards over, and they're like, "Wait a second, you got to tell us how you did your trick." I'm like, "No, I'm going to tell you how I did my magic trick. That's ruining it."
Right,
Why did I do that? But I was trying to get some money out of them, but they were smart enough not to bet me. So yeah, that was my card trick.
Nice.
Yeah, well, Ruben over there, you mentioned the Tundra Crew. I said you got to check them out.
Yeah.
He's saying that they couldn't make it out for this game, and it's true what he's saying. He's saying in the comments here, he's part of a big tailgating group called the Bird Gang Tailgate.
Well, look,
that does UTSA. They do it up really big. Let me tell you,
Leo, you guys can stick up for him. I didn't see him there, so I'm going to stay. They can't tailgate very well. So when May 13th comes, I will come back down when the Battlehawks are playing the Buffalo Wild Wings for the championship game, and I want to see the Tundra Crew there. And then we'll see if they can really tailgate.
Yeah, well, that's what he says. He needs to get them to buy into the Brahmas. And hopefully after this first game experience, some of those guys will have watched on TV or they will hear from Ruben just how much fun he had there. And we'll see some of them coming around now.
It is kind of great that we got to have this game in week 1 against the eventual winners of the North Division and the winners of the South Division that will meet again on May 13th, right there in the Alamo Dome.
Let's hope.
For the championship. Just redo the whole thing. Let's just do it all over again. It was fun. It was a good time. Let's just do that again here on May 13th, the day before Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
May 13th?
Yeah.
Day before Mother's Day. What a great Mother's Day present. My wife is already very excited that the championship is going to fall right before Mother's Day. She's very excited.
Really? Okay.
Now, how are the mamas feeling about that, it being on Mother's Day? How are you guys feeling about that?
That's a ways away. That's a ways away. We'll talk about that when we get closer. Well, I know for the tailgate, I had a schedule. And so I got there at 10:30 It was make the Brahma juice, right? And I will tell you, we had tons of people donate from ice to juice to cut up fresh fruit, but nobody came by because I think it didn't have liquor. Everybody asked about it, but nobody really drank it. So we're gonna scratch that out off the list. We went around, we passed bubbles to the kids and also a flyer that said the Brahmas. And we even went to the group that was there from the Battlehawks. They could not believe that we were giving them stuff. You know, how they were just like in awe of that. Um, and then we went around, we picked up cans, we picked up ramen noodles, we picked up rice, all for the food bank, which was amazing. We filled a whole cart full of that. Then we had the guacamole contest, and we had the judges there, and the winner was from the Brahma bullpen. And I did eat my jalapeno. I took one bite. No one said I had to eat the whole thing, but I took a bite of the jalapeno because I lost the bet. We had our group.
You didn't.
Well, they wanted me to
Their
eat it, so
their
I
guy
took a
didn't
bite.
start. Oh,
Their
you
guy,
gave in.
I
You gave
did give
in. You
in.
should
I
have said
did give
no.
in.
You should
And
have
it
said
was a
no.
big one. It was a big one. We had the Brahma picture. We had a little bit of the Brahma dance, of our little choreographed little dance there. Amazing. I mean, the people were so welcoming, offer me drinks, and I learned from the first tailgate, I can't drink and do all that. It's just too much. They offered me water. I drank bottles of water, and that I could do, but I get too dehydrated because all this talking and walking and pulling carts. So I had a good time. My experience for tailgating is very different. I just love the interaction with the fans and interacting with the kids. We saw for sure the gunslingers. Coach Shaw tried to jump in my little cart. I'm struggling as it is, and he's trying to
That's a
jump in
big
there
dude.
and have me pull. There was
Yeah,
like no
that's a
way.
big guy.
Hey,
I
that's a
was like,
big
oh
guy.
yeah, yeah. And so I was like, why did my thing get so heavy all of a sudden? I turn around, there he is. So it was amazing. I mean, I can't ask for a better tailgate. The interaction, the love, it was just the best. It really was the best for me.
Yeah, I was
It's
going to ask you, Dirty. You and Amanda. I saw some pictures afterwards that you were out with there, hanging with the Gunslingers crew for a little bit. What'd you think of those guys, or what was the interaction there?
I mean, listen, I went right up to the coach and I said, "Hey, coach," I said, "You got a fan from St. Louis?" He's like, "St. Louis?" I go, "Yeah. The only reason why I know of you is from the Smoking Guns podcast." I said, "So yeah, you got a fan. So they're playing catch with Amanda. They're talking to us. I mean, it was really great. I mean, it was great to see that the Brahmas accepting the XFL accepting the local team that you guys already have there with the Gunslingers and the arena football that you guys had there. And where like in 2020, it just really they didn't really do that. And it seems like in this incarnation, they're only doing it in certain cities. And it seems like San Antonio is one of their cities where they're just accepting everything about the city, the culture, the people, everything about it. And that's what I love so much about that Brahmas fan base is that. And I love the way that you guys do it. Like with RC, the way that she goes around and collects the stuff and does the stuff for the kids. Like we don't have that in St. Louis. We don't have a group like that in St. Louis. We've tried to get them together. We just never can to get them to do stuff like that. I mean, it was really weird. And I mean, like I would love to take a lot of what you guys have done and implement it into the St. Louis tailgating scene, but I don't think it's going to happen. But
I
that's
want to
okay.
I want Amanda and I want to help Amanda to do what we're doing with the Brahma Mamas over there in St. Louis. And you can do it because everything that we did that day was everybody volunteered. They volunteered to bring juice, ice, cups, the bubbles, you name it. We all volunteered because we want football to stay in San Antonio.
The
Right.
battle chick.
Yeah. See, we already tried this. You were like, "Oh, we don't need no. Why can't we just all be one fan base?" And I go, "Look, I get it." I was like, "But for us to grow this fan base, I mean, think about this: the XFL is so affordable for families, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, how many kids were there? We saw a lot of young kids there. I mean, like you said, with the Battlehawk fans that came from Perryville, Missouri,
Hmm.
they brought their kids with them,
Hmm.
and and like they'd even said this, they're like, everybody down here is so nice. I go, yeah, it's unbelievable. They're like, they're just giving us stuff. Like the guys next to them are like offering them not to cook because he's putting his grill together. And they're like, you want some food? We're cooking food right here for you guys, And they're like, no, we're good. They're like, no, seriously, we have enough food. If you guys want some, we'll get it, We'll give you guys some. And I just thought it was great. I mean, just like walking around, I met Warren, who I have talked to numerous times and seen him on these shows, right? Steven from what they call themselves, the Brahma Destruction Crew or something.
Yes.
Yeah. I met
Steve-O.
I was standing there talking to them, and then he saw me and I saw him, and he gives me the gesture. I walked over him. We stood there and talked. I mean, yeah, it was just like I said, I have experience in St. Louis, just never outside of St. Louis at another fan base. And just the way that you guys were so welcoming to me, Amanda, and Dave and our show, it was absolutely beautiful. So like when I literally said, St. Louis, you guys, we need to turn this stuff up because they had 24,000 and they did a wave for 10 minutes. They started the wave in the beginning of the fourth quarter, and it lasted for literally 10 minutes.
Forever.
I've never seen anything like that.
There are still people at the Alamo Dome right now
doing the wave.
I really believe it. Thinking that
They're still there.
Thinking Hines Ward didn't pull his entire first starting defense and put in all of his second stringers. Now, let me ask you guys that question. Why would your head coach pull his entire all of his one guys and put all of his two guys in at the end of the game?
Because I think they thought we were winning. We had
learned a lesson.
And that was it. Because at the last minute, I went to the restroom thinking we won. I come back, we lost.
Honestly, here's the deal, Dirty. We know that you guys live in St. Louis, and you had to drive all the way down to us, and we were like, we want to be,
hospitable.
We want to be hospitable, and it just seems wrong to make them come all the way down here 14 hours.
Let me tell you something.
And then send them back to Missouri and not give them something. So tell you what, let's give them a win.
No,
that's some South Texas hospitality right there.
Yeah. Here's how stupid we are. It is a minute 3 left. Me and Amanda look at each other after you guys did your big run, scored, you get your field goal. We're like, all right, we're losing. I'm going to take my lumps on the air. I don't want to be stuck because I figured the parking lot was going to be a madhouse. Let's get out of here. So I turn it on the phone. I walk out of the stadium. So the only reason why the Battlehawks left is because I left the stadium after driving 14 hours like an idiot. And after I drove like an idiot. But again, I watched the game. Now, I watched all 4 games, and here's something I want you guys to realize. So there was only 2 teams that were the inexperienced head coaches that had no head coaching experience played each other. And that was the Brahmas and the Battlehawks. Okay. Now on Sunday or Saturday, both the experienced head coaches won.
Yep.
Yes.
You had Wade Phillips win, which he's an idiot for what he said. That he's intelligent. Yeah, he's a smart dude. Good old Wade, good old son of bum, right? And then you had Bob Stoops with the Rent-A-Hawks. Listen, you guys ain't even got to worry about the Rent-A-Hawks. They're going to go 5-5. So don't even worry about the Rent-A-Hawks because that's the 2020 Battlehawks all over again. It's just going to be run, pass, run, pass, run, pass. Don't even worry about them. You guys will take first place. Don't worry. Or second. The only team you got to worry about is the Roughnecks. And then Barlow beat Jim Haslett. But that's because you took that beer snake away from those idiots up there in D.C. and they started throwing
they were mad.
lemons at people.
But remember, Barlow has head coaching experience. He is not an inexperienced head coach. He's not Jim Haslett.
But he's the NFL.
But he's had head coaching experience. He has managed a game.
Okay.
Whereas Anthony Beck and Hines Ward had never managed a football game until yesterday. And one of them did it right, and one of them didn't. And that was the difference.
I mean,
pretty much.
Hindsight's 2020, You like how I said that, Hines?
I got it.
Yeah.
2020 there.
Hines is right.
I mean, look. To be honest, if you really look at the games, in my opinion, the game that was probably the worst of the whole weekend was the Roughnecks and Orlando game.
Yeah,
Sure.
I would agree.
Okay. Now if you wanted defense, the Brahmas and the Battlehawks games, it was literally an up and down flow, right? Up and down through the entire game, right? And then at the end, there's that drama.
Right.
But like overall, I mean, that was really quality, good football.
It was.
And I mean, I remember as I was listening on the way back, you really go back and watch it because that's what I did on the 14-hour drive home. We watched all 4 games. Like, I didn't realize this, and I don't know if you guys did, but Hines Ward never had the Brahmas practicing in pads or having full contact
Right.
in
I
pads.
heard that.
So that could have had a lot to do with it too there. Because if you notice, a lot of injuries in our game.
Yeah.
You bring up the Orlando Houston game. I got a question for you, Dirty, because
Yeah.
you've watched it like we have. Houston is that good, or Orlando was that bad?
Oh man, I'm not a Brandon Silvers fan because he's a prima donna.
Sure.
I don't like Silvers, but that defense that Wade Phillips has, that Tampa 2-3-4 hybrid type defense. I mean, he had the one kid. What was the one dude's name that had 4 sacks?
Right.
I mean, the defense is for real. I'm just not sold on Silvers. I don't like.
I didn't see Houston do anything that blew me away and just went, whoa, they're way better than everybody else in this league. But I did see Orlando do enough that I was like, they're just not on the same level as what I'm seeing around the league.
They need some more.
I'm not sure it was Houston is great. I mean, they may be great. We need to see over time. But to me, Orlando was bad. It wasn't Houston was great. It was Orlando was not good.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Silvers made a lot of great passes because if I'm not mistaken, Silvers was the 3rd best passer of the week, right? Now, Ben DiNucci, if I'm not mistaken, Ben DiNucci was number 1.
Right.
Now, look, I'm going to tell you, even though they lost, Seattle lost, okay? If DiNucci and Gordon when they get on the same page, that's going to be dangerous.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, if you can get your guys' quarterback, and who's that other little quick wide receiver you guys had? That would just streak right across that would slant right across the middle.
You're talking about Landon Akers.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
Yes.
You give Coons and how do you say his name?
Cohen.
Yep.
Okay. You give Cohen
I
and
know who
Akers.
you were talking about for a second.
I know.
Like,
I'm an idiot. Come on, RC. You know I'm an idiot. I always mess everybody's
He's
name
like
up.
our Cooper Cup.
Yeah.
Well,
Look,
I say that
two. No, go ahead, RC.
I was like, I say that because I'm a speech pathologist. That's the only reason. Sorry.
RC,
Dirty.
you've listened to my show. How many times do I mess people's names up? How do you think I call myself dirty? Why do you think I call
We
myself
still love
dirty?
you. We love you.
I
We
can't
love
say
you.
my own name. But you get those two on the same page, and with Belial, I mean, you guys are going to have a really good offense. And I mean, I literally think you guys could put up some numbers. I see Antonio said Houston is that good. I mean, I think it is that they're very well coached. I think it's they're very well coached. That is a well-oiled machine.
I mean, Wade Phillips has been around the game all of his life. People talk about
long time.
He's been a coach for 4 decades or whatever, but he grew up in the league. Like he didn't. There is no point from the time that person entered onto Earth that he hasn't been thinking about football.
See, Brian,
his dad was a quality coach. He's a quality coach.
Brian says here that he thinks Seattle is better than Houston. I mean, Seattle's good. But Houston, to me, for a bunch of no names, do we really know anybody really on the Houston team?
I mean, Holly was a big guy in 2020, right?
I mean, yeah, that's really about it. But like, at least on your guys' team, you have your guys that streaks across. What's his name? Akers. You have Bilal. You have, I'm not going to say his name because RC is going to yell at me again.
No, I won't. I won't yell at you.
Cohen. You have Cohen, right? I mean, you got a lot of notable players on your team. Seattle, a lot of notable players. DiNucci, Gordon. The Battlehawks, we have McCarron, Prohl, right?
They killed us.
Houston has nobody really. And
Right.
they're just, I think it's just, they're that well oiled. And I think that's
Yeah.
going to be the team. That's going to
Well
be the team.
coached.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Yeah.
going to take a break. We're going to let you get on to going back to sleep because you drove for 14 hours yesterday.
Yes, I do
But
feel bad that I took up 47 minutes.
no, you're
Oh,
fine, Dirty.
that's
Tell
fine.
them where to find you. Tell them who you are and what you
Ugh.
do and why they should listen to you.
Now, listen, you guys don't want to listen to me. Like my co-host down here says that I am an idiot. And if you come on our show, the X-Fan Show on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 o'clock Central Standard Time, or if you come on B-Hawk Live at 8 o'clock Central Standard Time and you make me mad, I will call you an idiot because most of the fans that watch my show are idiots. But I still love them all. And I love all you guys. You guys aren't idiots. I love you guys. But yeah, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, all that at X-Fan Network. We now have the legion of fans that is with us at Smoking Gun Podcast is with us. Reels and Heels is with us. We have the Rough 'em Up podcast over there now. We're getting the Raising Hell podcast with Jimmy, Marco, and those guys up there in the Renegade. So it's basically we want to build a fan network. We want to build a network of podcasts that are shows that are for the fans, that are driven by the fans, like your guys' show, like our shows. So that's where you guys can find us.
Excellent.
And you
We're
will
gonna take
find
a
me
quick-
May 13th at the Alamo Dome when it's the Battle
There
Hawks
you go.
versus the Brahmas.
Perfect. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the game itself, the time on the field, and maybe get really deep into what went wrong in that last 2 minutes. There's Dirty giving you the horns forward and waving his Brahmas flag. He may say that he is a Battlehawks fan, but there's a part of his heart that is right here in San Antonio. Right, Dirty?
It didn't go
Look.
back with you.
No, listen, I'll tell you this. Your guys' secondary logo is probably my favorite logo.
The B or the SA?
The SA and the B. I love both of them. And I told Leo, I texted my wife and said, I would live in San Antonio. She goes, I would too. I said, sweet, let's move to San Antonio then. So yeah, beautiful city. I love it. Hey guys,
Come
I love you
along.
guys. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate
Love
it.
you too.
Thanks,
so
Dirty.
much,
Thanks
Dirty.
for coming on.
Appreciate it.
Don't go away,
Stick with-
guys.
Stick with us right here. We'll be right back. Smokin Gunz Podcast. Give us just a few minutes and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. All right, Smokin Gunz Podcast, Philip Higginbotham, Leo Yamas, RC Woods. Said goodbye to Dirty for now, but good guy, good show
Great
over
guy.
there, him and Amanda.
And Dave.
We enjoy Dave. We enjoy spending some time with them this weekend. We've talked about the tailgate. We've talked about the pregame. We've even talked about the fact that we're going to host the championship game. Guys,
Yeah.
it's going to be
big.
rough. It's going to be rough if we host this championship game and we're not in it.
It's
I'm
gonna
going to
be
tell you
very
right
hard.
now, like, I'm not going to like that very much. So
It's going to be a tough pill to swallow. I think fans will still show up because it's another reason to tailgate. But yeah, it's going to sting if our Brahmas aren't in there. So let's just make that happen, Coach Ward.
there you go. Coach Ward and players, let's make this thing happen. Let's talk about the football game itself. The time on the field. Now, RC, you got to watch from the bullpen. You got pulled. What happened? How did that happen?
Okay, I'll tell you what happened. So it was about like 1:15-ish. My friend and I, Laura Gully, we go in and we get our seats. and I go live, right, just to tell everybody, bird's eye view, if that's what you call it. And I see this guy out of the corner of my eye coming up the stairs, and he just stops like right in front of me. So I kind of go in panic mode just a little bit. And he's like, "Do you want to sit in the front row?" And I was like, "Do you want me to?" Because I am scared to death, right? And then he's like, "Well, go sit in the front row." And I was like, "Okay." He goes, "Do you want to go to the bullpen?" I go, "Do you want me to?" And he's like, "Yes." He goes, "I got 2 free tickets. Follow me." So my instinct was, do I go or do I not go? This guy was dressed from head to toe. He was in a kilt. He had paint on his face. It was
I saw that
incredible, right?
guy.
Yes. And
Yeah.
so we're walking, and I was like, "Can I ask you, do you know me?" He's like, "Yeah, I know you." And I was like, "You're RC." I'm like, I am RC. He's like, "I met you at the first meet and greet with Heinz Ward when we were at what was that restaurant downtown that we had the first meet and
Smoke.
greet?"
No?
No, not Smoke. That was
No, the one on the Riverwalk.
yes.
I wasn't there, but I know what you're talking about.
That was like where I brought the first sign of the Brahma Mamas. He's like, "I met you there." And he's like, "I have these extra tickets, so just come on. It's all you can eat. You get free food. You get a hat." I was like, "What?" It was amazing just to be there, literally right on the field. It was just like a barrier and us.
I bet it
We had
was
to,
loud.
oh, I couldn't even hear my friend talking, and she was sitting right next to me. I was almost when I can't talk and people don't understand me, I go into sign language. It's like automatic. And so I'm over here signing to her. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh my God, I forgot." It's just when I can't communicate, I automatically go to like my hands. But the food was delicious. Oh my gosh. They had these best huge cookies. They had some chicken, they had some ground beef, they had seasoned peppers. Amazing. It was amazing. I want to go there from now on. I don't even want to sit over there anymore. So we'll
I
see
think
what
this is
happens.
I think this is the second show that RC has descended into a menu. I think she did it
Yeah.
for our Super Bowl party. Now she's doing it for the bullpen.
Well,
But somebody came up and said you want to go. Like there was
yes,
no other way.
that was it.
Okay.
Nothing else than that. Nothing
That-
else than that.
It looks like the Brahmas organization was really taking care of the fans. It said here, yeah, Renee in the comments um, had obstructed seats for whatever reason, and the Brahmas just came up and put them in the bullpen. Uh,
I think it was the ESPN, the camera thing that Dirty was talking about. The
mhm.
same
Right.
thing happened here because I talked to someone in the same area, and that's what they told me that they had seats. They called the night before and said, "Hey, look, unfortunately, where you're sitting at, ESPN is going to be having their cameras there. We're going to move you to the bullpen." So, yes, definitely they took care of them.
Good job on
Yeah.
the
And
Brahmas.
Renee confirming that it was the ESPN camera that forced them that way. Renee I've seen her online, I think today. Is that the Brahma Babe?
Oh,
Is that what
yeah.
she's
She's a
naming
hottie.
herself
She's a
there?
hottie. We
Yeah.
took a picture together. Yeah, she's gorgeous.
So
Yeah, and so we were right there when they had all of the different fan interactions. She was the one who did the trivia.
yes, right.
That's her.
Which was so tough.
Oh, it's so
What
tough.
what current XFL head coach won Dancing with the Stars? Like if you're in
Hello.
that building and you don't know that answer to that question,
You need
get
to
out.
get out of the
Uh,
building.
it's time to go. Uh, so the gameplay on the field, Leo and RC, um, what did you see? What have you noticed? I know, Leo, you've gone back and watched all of the game,
Yes.
watched most of the game at this point, and it's hard when you're in the stadium. It's hard to really pick out some things, but when you go back and watch the tape, I started noticing a lot of things that I was like, "Ooh, we got to talk about this and we got to talk about that." And I want to start first with the first 58 minutes of the game. The whole 2 minute debacle I want to get to on a separate thing entirely, but that first
Right.
58 minutes of the game, what did you see?
Well, the first 58 minutes of the game, like you said, I think the Brahmas kind of had their way with the Battlehawks. They definitely controlled the
Defensively.
pace of the game.
They dominated.
Defensively. Offensively, I think they were doing what they wanted to do. There were just certain little things that they weren't clicking on. Everybody knows that defense is a lot easier to get together when you're first starting. It happens at all levels in football. The defense always comes together a lot quicker than the offense does. You know, especially when you have new players coming in, new offensive schemes and stuff like that, which for every team in the XFL, it's all new. So we can expect to see a lot better defensive play than offensive play in the first couple of weeks. But that said, we kind of had a sense, we talked about it before from the draft, that the Brahmas were going to be a run-heavy offense. And that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what what we saw. I mean, they've got two great backs in Kevin Belage and Jacquez Patrick that they really lean on, and we're able to kind of control the clock, keep the Battlehawks offense off the field. And then when they were on the field, the defense was very effective. We saw some things in over the last several hours on social media, and people talking about. We touched on it a little bit right now, but the biggest question mark for me was, what was our quarterback going to look like? What was Jack Cohen going to look like out there? Didn't have a whole lot of information on him. I know he played one season at Notre Dame, went to a bowl game, did pretty well there. He had a pretty good record over through his collegiate career. But what was he going to look like at this level? And I got to say, I was pretty dang impressed with the way Cohen handles pressure, the decisions he made. I think he didn't get a lot of help from his receivers. He had a lot of drop passes. Key moments from both his wide receivers and his running backs once or twice. I think a touchdown got dropped at the end of the first half that ended up being a missed field goal when they had to settle for a field goal, and it was one of Romo's only miss of the game. But yeah, look at that line, 25-36, 207 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. And again, the interception, that was off a deflection. That was in the hands of his receiver, should have been caught, and then ended up getting intercepted. So it's a stat against the quarterback, but really the foul was on the wide receiver. And he had multiple plays like that were right in the receiver's head. I don't think he threw a single really bad pass in the game, like a really inaccurate pass. There were a couple that floated out of bounds, but I think those were intentional. Because the play wasn't there. He knew it wasn't going to happen, so just throwing the ball away. But I came away really, really impressed with how he handled the pressure. There were times where he stood in the pocket. He knew he was going to get hit and delivered the ball. There's one time where that came back and bit him because he held on to it just sort of touched too long and got blindsided from behind. And that's really the biggest, I think, mark against his game. That game was the fumble where he got blindsided and ended up losing the ball, and that was a turnover. His second turnover, if you include the interception. But other than that, I think his decision-making under a lot of pressure, because on both sides of the ball, the defensive line dominated, both for the Brahmas and for the Battlehawks. I was really impressed with how he stood in the pocket, how sharp he looked, the decision-making, getting rid of the ball when he had to, extending the play when he had to, getting out of the pocket and running. He had some rushing yards in the game. I came away really impressed, and I was like, okay, I get it now. People were thinking it was going to be pass at first, because he was the one that got the most publicity, the most talked about. Then, Sinnett, with his experience with, that he showed in the NFL with the Dolphins and I forget the other team he was with, but he had some moments, mostly in preseason, but he showed that he's got some talent. So a lot of people thinking, oh, it's going to be Sinnett. And then, we hear, oh, wait, it's Cohen. Right. And we're kind of scratching our heads. Well, obviously he showed something and we were wondering what it was going to be. And I think if anybody comes away out of that game saying, oh, we need to really go to a different quarterback or think about quarterback, I think you need to go back and rewatch that game and look at the line play, look at the pressure he was under, and look at the decisions he made, and look at just how tough he was. I mean, how many QB sneaks did we have for short yardage that he converted every single time? I mean, he was tough, gritty, smart. And those are the three of the top things you want out of your quarterback. And accurate. He wasn't inaccurate at all. Right. So
I'm just grateful that he didn't do what the Commanders coach did and switch out the quarterbacks. Thank God. I was worried about that.
Javier Morales says we were too conservative on offense. Cohen seemed slow at times. I got to tell you, this is exactly the offense I expected to see. 2 or 3 run plays for every pass play that you run. And if we're honest, again, we're talking about the first 58 minutes. It worked.
Right.
Like
It did.
this was a good defense that we went up again. I saw a good defense on the field for the Battlehawks. And we still were in control of the game until that final 2 minutes. We're going to talk about what that final 2 minutes looked like. But if you take that out, if you subtract that from the game, even with an offense that seemed not as high powered as you would hope for, you were still in control of the game. You had a running game, you had defense. We've all heard all of our lives that's what you need to win football games, and they had those two things going. These two guys, I just tossed it up there for a second. I'm going to toss it up again. These two guys you're either going to win a championship or not win a championship based on number 9 and number 11. Like that's what this is all about. It's about Balaj and Patrick. Cohen is important because he's a quarterback and he touches the ball on every play, and you need him to bail you out sometimes when you get behind the chains. But I believed it when we drafted this team. I believe it even more now, seeing the way Hines Ward put this team together, that this team is going to live or die on these two guys right here. It's all about that.
Yeah,
I think we saw that in the game.
Yeah, they both did great. I mean, Balaj, there's a site out there that I think it's more for like gambling or for fantasy football, and there's a site out there that keeps track of basically opportunities, touches in a game, and Kalen Balaj led the entire XFL in total opportunities with 28, 24 rushing attempts and 4 passing targets. Far and away, the number 2 on that was the running back from the Renegades, Devion Smith, with 15 total. So he nearly doubled the guy that was second on touches in the entire XFL in the first week. So that tells you a lot about what this offense is geared on.
And 34 touches between the two of them, Balaj and Patrick. It just seemed clear to me, not only when we drafted, but seeing it in action. This is going to be a run-first team, and I'm okay with that. I think we're built well for that. As long as we don't get away from that identity late in games, which I don't think we did on the offensive side of the ball. I do think we did it on the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But Kalen Balaj, like, you can hand the ball to him and he gets stopped for a yard, and then you hand the ball to him and he runs for 15. Don't ever stop handing that guy the ball. Don't ever stop handing that guy the ball.
Well, and yeah, you just brought this up with Javo Morales' comment here. He says, what's your opinion on receivers? Too many drops this game. I know we still have not fully synced, but what's your take? So I agree with you, Philip. You want to hand the ball, you want to put the ball in Balaj's hands, but you want to run the ball and run it effectively so you could set up the pass.
Yes.
And we did that to some extent, but I agree with some of the people saying, well, the offense was a little anemic, or they need to open it up a little bit more. I do think there's room to have a little bit more of deep ball passes. It seemed that a lot of times the receiver was kind of the check down receiver, the tight ends, running backs, or wide receivers, but the routes weren't that deep. Now, the times that he did connect, there was a couple. Like I said, Cohen, the reason why you don't do that is if you're worried about your quarterback's accuracy. But I at least to me, from my perspective in week 1, he's got a very accurate ball. I just think maybe it's just going to take a little bit more time for him to develop a chemistry with those receivers, and you'll start seeing less drop balls.
Look, my feeling on wide receivers has always been on the college level and the pro level. And since this is the pro level, but in between those two, it is still true. If you get 2 hands on the ball, I don't care where it is. If it's within area for you to get 2 hands on the ball, you got to come down with it, period.
That's your job.
He had to reach behind him. He had to reach up high. I don't care. If you could get 2 hands on the ball, you should have come down with it. And there were at least 4 and probably more. I didn't make it through the whole game, but there are at least 4 that were straight up drops. It hit them in the hands and it fell to the ground, and that just can't happen. It just can't. Will they get better on that over time? Well, yeah, I would think so. They've got a Super Bowl MVP, and ultimately a guy that should be a Hall of Fame wide receiver as their coach. Do I think he can teach them to catch the ball? I hope so.
I hope so.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
I'm
it's like I was
surprised it was a problem here. I'm really surprised it was a problem yesterday.
It's like I was telling a buddy of mine at the game, and I said this before the collapse in the last 2 minutes. I said, looking at this team, we've got a strong run game. We've got a pretty darn good quarterback. We've got a really stout defense. I was like, the only kind of main position that it seems like we're somewhat lacking in is wide receiver, and how ironic that is being that our head coach is a Hall of Fame wide receiver.
Right.
But again, like I said previously, offense takes a lot more time to gel than defense in football. That's just the way it is. And so I think we're seeing our defense, they're a lot further along where the coaches want to be than the offense is. I expect we'll see the offense start to be a little bit better over the next couple of weeks.
So that's the first 58 minutes. I think at the end of the day, in the first 58 minutes, you had everything right where you wanted it for a game one. Like, you didn't look great. You didn't look perfect. You turned the ball over twice, but you're ahead, and you're ahead by 2 possessions.
Yes.
Now let's talk about the final 2 minutes of the game. And I want to preface all of this by saying, if you are one of those San Antonio Brahmas fans right now that is griping and moaning about rules, stop it. Nobody had an issue with a 4th and 15 conversion until yesterday. All of a sudden, when it hurt somebody's team and it happened to be ours, now I'm hearing a lot of Brahmas fans go, that's a stupid rule. No, it's not. It's a great rule because it provides an opportunity for a team that's down 2 possessions to still get back in the game. Does it suck that happened to us?
Yeah,
Sure.
it does.
But none of you whined or cried at all about this rule when we talked about it for all of the XFL 2020 and all of the lead up to this game. Now, all of a sudden, you got your finger pricked by the cactus and you're like, that sucks. We need to get rid of those and never have those again. Stop it. You sound ridiculous. You sound ridiculous when you start talking about, that's a stupid rule. No, it's not. It's a great rule. It's a great way to play the game. It just means we got beat on it, and it stinks. The other thing I would say is I've seen a lot of folks griping about 2 feet down, 1 foot down. It's the way it is. In the XFL, you got to have 1 foot down to have possession. And I'll be really honest with you.
College rule.
Yeah, I've said this on Facebook today a couple of times. I would like to see the NFL go to 1 foot down. I like offensive production, and I think it's ridiculous that you have to have 2 feet, but 1 knee or elbow or buttock. That doesn't make any sense. 1 point of contact with the field before you go out of bounds is perfectly reasonable, and I would like to see the NFL move to that. Now, maybe with the XFL trying this out, this is a test case for the NFL to go, that'll work. There's no reason that won't work. I'm okay with it. I know that Leo, I think, has a little different opinion, but I'm all for 1 foot down, and I'm fine with it in the XFL. That's fine.
Well, I'm not fine with it. I don't like it simply because it's not what we're used to in the NFL, but there's a lot of rules that we're not used to. I think it takes a lot more effort to get both feet down. And since that's kind of like the goal of all these guys is to make it to the NFL, to get to the NFL. This is a step to that. So to me, that's something that you may as well get used to now, rather than getting the 1 foot down only. It's kind of like, okay, it's time to put you on your big boy pants and make sure you get both feet down on, before going out of the field of play. Now, there's a lot of different nuances that are different from the XFL to the NFL. It's a different game. So I understand it and accept it. If, in how you say, Philip, in their case, the NFL were to adopt that 1 foot down rule, then even more so, I don't have a problem with it. But I question whether that will ever happen. I don't think so personally. So in that aspect, I would say, why not just go with the 2 foot? It would keep things so much more less confusing, and a little bit more competitive and harder on those receivers. Playing defensive back is already hard enough as it is. And now you're gonna allow your wide receiver to have the advantage of only having to get the 1 foot down. On that play that you're talking about, the defensive back turned around and was, excited because he thought he had defended the play well enough that the player didn't make the play. And then he turned around and he was a little bit surprised to see the referee doing the catch hand symbol. Defensive back is an extremely difficult position to play, and I think that just makes it that much harder. It's not that I don't like it, though.
The people all around me in my section, he only got 1 foot down. And I'm like, that's all you need, people. You got to pay attention to what it is. Now let's talk about what really happened in the last 2 minutes, because the rules aside, the rules are the rules. They went for a 3-point conversion. They got it. They went for the 4th and 15. They got that. They got in the end zone. They left at 16 seconds left on the clock. They did it masterfully. Like, they came back masterfully. And let's talk about why it happened, because it wasn't anything, as far as I'm concerned, that the St. Louis Battlehawks did. Sorry, Dirty. I know you're still listening, but I'm not giving your team as much credit for this as I am. We completely changed the way we played defense in the last 2 minutes of the game and started sending 7 and 8 back instead of blitzing the quarterback on sure passing downs. We did that all game long. If it was a down that was going to be a passing down, 9 times out of 10, we were blitzing the quarterback, and AJ McCarron gets deer in the headlights and just panic. He just throws the ball because he doesn't want to get hit. And we did that all game long. And then we got in the last 2 minutes and we're like, let's send 8 guys. Let's send a defensive end out into coverage and not rushing the quarterback, because we want to tighten the windows, as Joey Galloway said at the end of the game. We want to tighten those windows up. And AJ McCarron was able to sit back there not long, because our pass rushers are still pretty good, but he was able to sit back there long enough that he could find Austin Prohl, that he could find these guys and pick us apart and move down the field and get everything he needed. He got a touchdown. He got a 3-point conversion. He got a 4th and 15 play, and he got another touchdown. All of that because and on all 4 of those plays, if you go back and watch, we rushed no more than 4 people any of those plays.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I completely agree that I don't understand why the defensive change, the defensive philosophy at the end. It takes me back, something that as a Broncos fan, I will always remember in Super Bowl 32.
Here we go.
When Denver was playing Green Bay, and they were up by a touchdown with a couple minutes left. And then here we go. Everybody's nervous because Brett Favre, the comeback king himself, was getting the ball, and he had to, had opportunity to come down and score 7 points and tie the game. And there's a camera on the sideline, and it picks up Greg Robinson going to Mike Shanahan and saying, what do you want me to do? What do I do? And Shanahan looked at him and he said, do what you'd normally do. Don't change anything. Do what you've done all game. And that's what they did. And the Denver Broncos go on to win their first Super Bowl. And it's just that if what you've been doing has only had some kind of success, but not dominated, then I can understand maybe mixing things up a little bit. But the Brahmas defense had literally up to that point dominated the Battlehawks offense. They only had 60 something yards of offense the whole game or something really small like that. Up until that point, they doubled the offensive yards just in those last 2 minutes. I don't understand the change. The other thing I will say, and I don't want this to sound like a cop-out because it's not the reason they lost, but I think it was a contributing factor, is something that I noticed about the overall gameplay, but particularly in those last couple minutes going back and watching the broadcast. Seems like the XFL, and I'm sure this is a calculated effort, this is something that they've talked about and are doing intentionally. Mm-hmm. They are letting a lot go as far as holds league-wide on the play, league-wide. But in that last 2 minutes, I can't tell you how many times I saw on the line, particularly on one pass, the touchdown pass before the 3-point conversion and before the 4th and 15. We had a defensive end make a really nice spin move, get by his guy, and all the guy could do was turn around and reach out and grab the guy from the shoulder. That held him back just a bit, maybe a second and a half. But that second and a half was long enough for McCarron to find the guy in the end zone and make that touchdown. So to me, that kind of a hold, that has a bearing on a significant play, and that's when you got to throw the flag for. It didn't happen, and that's not why they lost. I mean, they still had opportunities to stop the Battlehawks and didn't. You know, they've made some mental mistakes, all kinds of other things. I'm not making this up as an excuse, but it is something that I noticed throughout the game. There was we only had one hold call the entire game.
And you're not making it up at all. Like I noticed it on Saturday before we ever got into the Alamo Dome, watching the Vegas win along with the Houston win. I was like, man, I'm not seeing near as many flags as we see in an NFL game. And you know what? I prefer that. I am so tired of NFL flag fest games where every play there's a flag and we have to stop down and watch referees talk about stuff. Like if it's even, I'm okay.
Right.
Like even with some holds happening that maybe would normally get called in a normal game, man, if it's even, now if it starts getting tilted one way or the other, you guys know that's where I get upset. But if it's even, I'd much rather see guys play football than see referees throw flags. I put referee flag throwing on Pro Bowl weekend as part of the skills competition, and I'll watch all the referees throwing flags that I want to watch over there. I kind of like that there were a lot less flags. And I love Brian Winslow checking in and saying the review process with Dean Blandino is really cool. I love the transparency. And what's funny is it's not any different than what happens in the NFL. Like Dean Blandino came from the NFL. This is exactly the same process they use, but we see it now.
It's just they're letting us see it now. Yeah.
So the Houston game, the first quarter of the Houston game, there's a touchdown that Orlando scored that was not a touchdown. It was an interception. Houston intercepted the ball, and the Orlando receiver came over the top, and they got twisted around, and they ended up both coming down in the end zone with the ball clutched in, and the referees gave it to Orlando. Made the wrong call, and it didn't even get reversed upon review. But the reason it didn't get reversed is because Dean Blandino took a look at it, and he said, I even think it's an interception, but I can't see that, and I've got to go with the call on the field. As a fan, I think it's the wrong call, but I get that you were kind of handcuffed at that point. If you had hidden all of that in some back dark room where I can't see any of that, that feels
you're
like
angry.
you cheated.
Yeah.
Like you're cheating Houston out of something. When I saw it all with the transparency, I was like, okay, it's the wrong call, but I get how we got there. That's what they called on the field, and I'm seeing what he's seeing, and there's not much there. There's nothing that we can hang our hat on and say, yeah, it was definitely an interception. I love the transparency. I love the fact that I'm not seeing a flag every play for an entire offensive. I did not see a whole lot of pass interference calls, which have started really bugging me in the NFL. I was really happy with the officiating for the most part. And certainly the way they cleaned up officiating on the backside with the review process. I thought it was great.
I was going to say, I thought maybe the conditioning had a factor or maybe all the noise, but I think when they brought in the newer players, it was too late. I mean, like that, they should have kept on doing what they were doing. They got them to that point, not change it at the end. That's just me though. But I did go to the restroom because I thought we were winning, and then I came back and we lost. So either I took way too long or what happened? I was like, what happened?
Coach Ward made a mistake. He made substitutions. He, changed the defensive philosophy. He thought the game was won. He was, at that point, his NFL experience in his brain kind of took over the way he was approaching those last couple of minutes, and it came back and bit us. And hopefully lesson learned.
I hope so too.
But yeah, I mean, there's a graphic out there. I don't know if you captured that or not, Philip. There's a graphic that shows us the stats team by team, and they do it visually with bars. You have the blue bar versus the yellow bar, and then whichever one had the advantage, it kind of slides one way or the other. And if you go down and look at that, it's on the XFL site. If you go look at the game stats, you can see the yellow bars are significantly significantly swayed towards yellow as you go down just about every stat. There's only very few that are across on, advantage blue. And it's just it goes to show you how much the Brahmas did to control this game and really win this game until the very end when they let it get away from them.
Yeah, for sure. Showing that right now on the video. If you're checking in on the video feed, you can see that. You can go to xfl.com and go to the game stats for the page and see that and pick through that and find all the information that you want. I'm impressed with how the XFL is putting out information. Stats and that kind of stuff were easy to find today, and I appreciate that as a guy who covers the sport and follows the sport. That's always nice. Brian Winslow talking about that play in the Houston game. Has there ever been a play like that where both players had the ball? Isn't can't really think of one. I can. It was a game between the Green Bay Packers and the Seattle Seahawks when the NFL was using scrub referees, and it was the last game to ever use replacement referees because what is it called? The Fail Mary? Is that what they refer to that as? Go look it up because they completely botched the call, and the NFL said, well, whatever the referees want, we've got to give it to them because we can't ever let that happen again. In this particular case, I think that they made the best call that they could. It was not the right call, but it was the best call that I feel like they could have made. So the game ends with an 18-15 result. The Brahmas are 0-1.
Yeah, that sucks, but it's the truth.
It's a bummer. I mean, it's a bummer. We wanted to see a win. We had a win for 58 minutes. We should have held on to the win. We didn't. It is football, though, and we had a great time at a football game. And now we get to move forward. So I want to take another really quick break. And if you're hanging out with us on Facebook, don't go anywhere because we will be back like super fast. So don't click away. Stick with us. But when we come back, I want to talk about what's up in the future and want to talk around the XFL, some of the things that we saw all over and around the XFL. So stick with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes. Smokin Gunz Podcast. Hang in there with us as I get everything. There. Smokin Gunz podcast. Philip Higginbotham, Leo Yamas, RC Woods. Okay, so we lost. It's not the end of the world. We didn't want to lose. Nobody likes losing, but somebody's got to lose. We lost the game. Not the end of the world.
It
right?
still sucks, though.
Oh, no, I hate it. I hate it.
Well, I was talking to Jose and I was like, "Hey, great game." And he's like, "We lost." I said, "Yeah, but we won in tailgating, we won in attendance, we won in fan interaction. There's a lot of wins that we had at this game. Yes, we lost the game and I get it. And I know we wanted a W, but there was a lot of positive things. We're getting the championship game. You know what I'm saying? That's a win.
Well,
in my
that was
book.
a huge win. Yeah,
Huge.
that we're going to have the championship game here. That's going to be really cool. But the biggest win is I don't think there was hardly anybody that was at that game, and probably the majority of people that watched it on TV that after that said, "I don't want to be at the Alamo Dome for the next one."
No.
I think the majority of the people that were there, the 24,250 that were there, came out of that saying, "Man, that was pretty awesome experience." Let's look into being here the next one. If you didn't have season tickets, let's look into buying tickets. Or people that were watching, maybe a little skeptical. Well, let's see how this is first, and watching on TV in the home market, they saw that and they're like, "You know what? I think I might make it to this next game because that looked pretty cool."
You
Yeah,
talk
That's
about
the
it.
big thing.
Sorry. The only bummer is that the next 3 games are away. That's killing us.
You talk about attendance numbers. We'll talk about the next 3 games here in a second because I don't think that's as big a bummer as you think it is if we're willing to be real fans. But let's talk about attendance numbers for a second. I've got them up on the screen right now. That first game out in Arlington, 12,000 fans. The next game there in Houston, another 12,000 fans, 12,700 fans. We just about
Doubled.
had both of those games combined in the Alamo Dome. And then again in DC, they had about 12,500 fans. So we blew away the rest of the league this week with our attendance numbers. I mean, it wasn't even close.
No.
We did that last time, the last go around. Nothing new here. We're just gonna keep on going with that. Yeah.
And the only
And
we had with the rodeo, we still had a huge crowd.
And I got to point out that we ended the AAF days, the San Antonio Commanders days. Our final game of the AAF was in Alamo Dome. It was against the Arizona Headshots. I like it. We'll call them that
Ooh.
from now. The Hot Shots. It was a loss, if you remember, 23-6 loss by the Commanders. We had 23,504. It was a Sunday night game against the Spurs, I believe. Not against the Spurs, but up against the Spurs.
Yes.
So we lost some sports fans over to the Spurs game. We had 23,504. We just got over that number this week. So we are picking up right where we left off. Like we are moving forward. We had a break of 18 months or whatever that's been, longer, I guess. Actually, it's been 20, almost 30 months. Is that right? Of no football, but we picked right up where we left off.
I don't want to do math on this show, Philip.
I know.
I was told there would be no math. So that's great. The tailgating was great. The fans and look, I stood in line to buy a t-shirt, the one I'm wearing now.
Love it.
For 25 minutes because everybody was buying gear. It seems to me that San Antonio's bought in, but I've got to be honest. We're going to find out how bought in the next time we're back at the Alamo Dome. Because everything that could be up against this game, to me, is our next game in the Alamo Dome is on March 19th. It is a Sunday night game, which we just talked about how that didn't work out well when we played the Hot Shots. And the game does not start until 9 p.m.
Yeah.
The XFL kept these games at 3 hours. Pretty pretty well. Like all the way
Yeah.
through the league, they were 3-hour games. But that means the game is not ending until midnight on a work night. So here's what you've got to do, Brahmas.
Calling sick.
Call in sick. PTO. That's what I did.
Request your PTO right
You
now.
have 3 weeks. You have 3 weeks to get that in.
March 20th, boss. I'm not going to be here. Monday,
Yeah.
March 20th, I am away. I am taking some PTO. Make your plans to not have me in the office on March 20th and come out to the Alamo Dome. It gives us lots of time to tailgate and have a great time before the game. But man, that's a late start, and it is what it is.
I think that's because of ESPN more than anything.
But isn't it like
Absolutely.
9 p.m. Eastern time, and here it's 8?
No, ma'am.
9
No? Oh,
local
Lord.
time, Central.
No, ma'am.
I got to take a nap that day.
Yeah.
Renee checks in and says that one's tough, but she's from Wimberley and she's just going to stay the night in San Antonio. I am also planning on being at the game, but I am not driving back to Palacios at midnight. So I'm going to find a couch or something to lay down. Leo,
come on over, Philip.
I may be using the guest room, bud.
Yeah, no problem.
For that game. Like, I'm going to be there, but there's no way I'm driving 3 hours back to Palacios in a game that gets
I
out
wouldn't let you.
Not doing it. So just make the plans now. Like, that's what I'm telling you. Also, if you're bummed, if you had a great time at the Brahmas game on Sunday, or you didn't get to go to the Brahmas game on Sunday and you're like, man, that sounds like it was a ton of fun. It was.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I don't want to wait 3 weeks. Guess what? You don't have to.
No,
because 2 of the next 3 games, while they are on the road, they are right in the same state. And look, I realize a 5-hour drive to a football game seems weird. I realize that a 2.5-hour drive over to Houston for a football game seems weird. But you could do it. Like, if you don't do it, that's on you. Amanda and Dirty came down from 14 hours away, hit another football game on their way. They were able to do it. Make a trip out of it. Bring the family with you. But let's have a big contingent of Brahmas fans show up in Houston. Leo, you going to be in Houston?
I am going to be in Houston. One caveat on that one, that is also a late kickoff. So that's also, I think, a 9:00 kickoff. So I was debating, or is it 7? Maybe it's 7.
It might be 7, but I'm still spending the night.
It's late. I know it's late, and I was debating on making the drive back home early that night. I'm going up there with my brother. My nephew lives in Houston, and we're going to get together as family there. But I have decided I'm just going to go ahead and stay the night after talking to my brother. The Arlington game, however, it is on a Sunday as well, but it is a much earlier kickoff. I believe that is a 2 p.m. kickoff. So you got plenty of time to get up there, leave in the morning, get up there, have enjoy the game.
I did misspeak. That is not one of the next 3 games. We play Orlando next week, Houston the week after, and then Seattle. So you're probably not going to go to that one.
Not driving to Seattle, no.
Then we're home for Arlington, and then we go to Arlington in a weird home-and-home week-after week thing. So the first game against Arlington is here, and then we go up there the next week. But what I'm saying is there are opportunities for you to still be involved. Certainly Houston. Look, Houston from San Antonio is not that bad. It's a little later game, but a 3-hour game that starts at 7 means it's over at 10. You're home by, 1? You can go to work the next morning.
No.
I took PTO.
I'm calling in sick. I'm working from home that day.
We're going to be in Houston. Leo's got his tickets. I bought mine today. But RC, it turns out that you got some communication from our friends at the Roughnecks.
Yes, Paul Tweeter. He's one of the main guys. He's the director of ticket sales. And he contacted me today, and he's taking care of us. He's given us 5 seats, comped. So excited. He said, we're welcome to join in the club. And we're also may have an opportunity to go on the field. So if anyone in San Antonio is listening, some people really love us and take care of us. I'm just
We're getting
saying.
more love from Houston, from down I-10, than we are here in our own hometown. Is that what you're saying, RC?
It
I
seems
am
like the
saying that.
Roughnecks are taking better care of the Smoking Guns podcast than the Brahmas are. I'm not saying that we're going to become a Roughnecks podcast or anything. Like, I'm not saying that.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying that one of
Oh.
those teams is taking better care of us than the other. And it seems kind of odd that it would be the Houston franchise that's taking
Paul
care of us.
Teeter. 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 Teeter.
There you go. So if you
Teeter.
need tickets to the Houston Roughnecks game, reach out to Paul and give him your business. I don't know if they work on commission or how that works, but go give that guy some business, man.
I'm
Because
telling you.
he is taking care of the smoke. Look, we're razzing the Brahmas a little bit, but let me say something that we kind of brought up earlier in the first segment. We talked about it online a lot. The Brahmas reached out to the San Antonio Gunslingers and said,
Yeah.
hey, bring your crew, bring your team, basically. I think they had like 15 of them come to the game. They took care of them, got them in the game. They got to tailgate with folks. They had a great time. There is absolutely a version of all of this where the Brahmas pretends that the San Antonio Gunslingers of the National Arena League don't exist at all. They don't acknowledge them at all. They don't do anything about this arena team that is in the town with them. They just kind of ignore them because, hey, we're big time and y'all are just an arena team. The Brahmas did not do that.
Mm-mm.
And that is worth mentioning, that they reached out the weekend of the game and said, hey, we want you guys to come enjoy the game with us. They also recognized the UTSA two-time conference championship team on the field at halftime. So they are buying into San Antonio football, not just Brahmas football. And that's
a community.
All that being said, if our good friends at the San Antonio Brahmas listen at all, or if you're in the XFL and you listen at all, or if you're part of the Alamo Dome and listen at all, this guy right here, Philip, he has spent 7 or 8 years in the press box, and he felt very weird being in the crowd with regular people. Not that I didn't enjoy it. I had a great time.
Regular people.
I made friends. I did the whole thing, but there was nowhere for me to write down notes. It would be weird to see a guy sitting there with a notepad or his computer, his laptop out. You wouldn't let me bring the laptop in anyway to the Alamo Dome. What I'm saying is, if you wanted to slide some media credentials some way, this guy right here would be more than willing to cover your product in a way that he's much more accustomed to, and hang out there in the press box. Leo's done it before. It's not his thing as much. Like, you enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's funner to be in the stands for you.
It would have been weird for me to yell out on some of the plays in the press box because everybody's being real professional in there. You know, I say some very unprofessional things during a football game, and we'll just leave it at that. So
here's what I found. As I said in the stands on Sunday, yesterday, a big play would happen and I wouldn't jump up and cheer. Like the guy next to me that I've been talking to the whole game stands up when we scored the touchdown and he goes to give me a high five. And I'm like, oh, that's right. We can do that here, because I'm so used to being where there's a certain amount of decorum. And I was like, okay, it is what it is. I didn't mean the regular people thing. Y'all are all getting butthurt.
Come on.
I'm sorry.
I wouldn't even want to be up there. Who would I talk to? Who would I eat with? Who would I have dessert with?
Didn't mean to upset you, but I would gladly continue. I mean, I'm going to show up at the games. Like, I'm going to be at the games. I got hooked, just like everybody else did. It was a blast. It would just be a lot easier for me to do my job with this podcast if I were there. Plus, got a chance. Go ahead, Leo.
Oh, I think you were about to say exactly what I was going to say.
Plus, you got the room, because I watched the post-game press conference with Hines Ward, and at the very end of the Alamo Dome's time with their press conference, they swung around to the back of the room, and there's 25 chairs set up. There's 4 people there.
Yeah,
You got
they
the
had a
room.
lot of room in there for more people. They certainly had the room in that post game press conference room for another 2 or 10 people.
Which brings me to my next point. We did watch Leo. I know you watched it. RC, did you get a chance to watch Hines Ward's post game press conference?
Right after the game, I went straight to my bowling league. Do you know how tired I was? I could barely lift the ball. I was
No, I
exhausted.
mean,
So the answer is no.
okay. Leo, I want to talk to you a little bit about it. It's out there. If you go to the Instagram account for the Alamo Dome, you can watch the whole thing in its entirety.
Yep.
Nobody's hiding it. Nobody's trying to. I didn't like it, Leo. I'm gonna fall on the sword here. I don't know how you feel about it. People love Hines Ward. I love Hines Ward, but I'm gonna tell you right now that the tone he struck in that particular post-game press conference was a very, oh shucks, that stinks, but there'll be other games. It was just fun to be here and play. And look, you lost a game that you had in hand all the way up until the final 2 minutes of the game, and you lost it in just really terrible fashion. I need, as a fan, you to be a little gutted by that. Like, I need to know that you're as upset about that as the coach as I am as the fan. And that was not the tone. He may be just as torn up about that as we were in that moment, but it did not come across in that press conference. It was just very much a, oh shucks, we lost that learning opportunity, and we'll come back and there'll be other games. And it was just really fun to be here and be a part of this whole thing. Did you get that feeling too, Leo?
Yeah, no, that's the feeling I got from his press conference, and I understand what you're saying. We want that. They were who we thought they were. We want some of that, and we let them off the hook. We want that fiery, pissed off, coach that doesn't like to lose and didn't want to take it lightly. I think maybe being that there's no doubt in my mind that Hines Ward is a top level competitor.
Yes,
Like he's a
absolutely.
competitor. I'm not doubting that at all. So I think it was probably was eating him up inside. But as being the head coach, it's his first time in that role. He wanted to be, he wanted to give hats off to the Battlehawks coach, and he wanted to come across with a little bit of a gracious, taking the loss graciously,
Mhm.
and also taking it in perspective, that it's just the first game. It was a non-conference game, and there's 9 more games, as he put it, and it's not the end of the world. It's not the last game. We get all that, and that's all very professional, but the city of San Antonio is fiery, and we like excitement. And Hines Ward, when you're watching this, because you're going to watch us, of course, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
When you
yeah,
watch
yeah.
this, it's okay. It's okay to say how you really feel,
Yeah.
because this fan base is just going to get behind you on that. We're not going
Let
to
us
judge you.
know.
We're gonna be right next to you, screaming and yelling.
We need a
One of
little
the
bit more
best.
passion from you. We don't want pops, but we want some passion.
One of my favorite head coaches, he's really becoming one of my favorite head coaches of all time at this point, is Jeff Traylor. I really like Jeff Traylor. And I happen to have been in press conferences with Jeff Traylor. And I know what he's like after a win, and he's all smiles. He's a very laid back kind of guy too. He doesn't get super down or up about anything, just like trust the process. Very almost Jason Garrett like sometimes in the way he talks. I went to Dallas, Frisco last year and covered their bowl game. They got absolutely destroyed against San Diego State in a meaningless bowl game. It is the Smoothie King Bowl or whatever. He had 22 players that decided not to play in the game. Like, he wasn't going to win this game. I was scared to ask the guy a question. Like, he came into a press conference of a game that we all knew he was going to lose, and he was bad. He was in a bad mood. I kind of need to see some of that from my head coach when you lose a game like this. Just I don't know. Something about the tone just struck me wrong. I know he's a competitive guy. I know it's his first time as a head coach. I know he's learning his way around. It's okay, coach. Show us a little bit of that disappointment. It's okay to be disappointed. We're disappointed. We kind of want to see that in you too.
We want
and
some
know that you
nasty.
let one slip away. Yeah.
Yeah, we want some nasty. That's okay. We'll get behind that. We don't want to lose. We don't like losing, especially in La Casa.
No, that
Like
we don't.
like
No.
that.
The
that
chancla's
pisses
gonna
us
come out.
off.
The
You
chancla's
don't
gonna
come in
come
and
out.
disrespect our house. That's La Casa.
And I will say,
So
going back to Paul, he had mentioned that there were 2 players from UTSA, and that he actually wanted us to see if we could reach out and have a mom-to-mom with those players, because he
gotcha.
says the success of the XFL is we all have to work together. And I
One of
think
them
that's
guys, one of them Houston guys that's a UTSA guy is a guy I really love. I wish we'd have gotten him. I love Parker Romo. I know he missed one kick, but I love the fact that a Romo is still scoring points on the football field in Texas.
there
That's the
you
way it
go.
should be. That's the way it should always be. Somebody said, hey, a Romo is playing football in Texas in February. Yeah. That's what we always, that's the dream, baby. Um, I like Parker Romo, but man, if we could have gotten Hunter Duplessis. And he's over there with Houston Roughnecks. But I like that guy. I'm surprised that guy is not on an NFL roster. I really am. He's a good, solid kicker.
Might be
Um,
soon.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
And the other guy
So,
was Charles Wiley.
yes, another great guy, another great defensive player. Just excellent, right? He's an outside linebacker, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Charles Wiley, good player, really good player. Not surprising at all that he's on a Wade Phillips defense, because he fits that kind of mold very much.
And I don't want to short our Brahmas players, but I was going to say Parker Romo could very well be on an NFL roster soon too.
Yes, he could.
He's a good
Yeah.
kicker. He did a very good. He did have the one miss, but I mean overall, I mean he had a 48-yarder like right down the middle at one point. Yeah, so
Yeah.
good
Yeah.
looking kicker.
No worries. And I've always been surprised that Nick Rose, who kicked for the Commanders,
Right.
has never wound up in the NFL. Like, he was money in the XFL. And it's just at the kicking level, it's not that different a game. It's the same thing. How is Nick Rose not getting a job as a kicker?
There's only 32 jobs in the NFL. That's why
I mean,
you don't
that's
keep a
true.
backup kicker, and you don't keep a kicker on your. Very rarely do you keep a kicker on your practice squad. So
For sure.
outside those 32 guys, you're on the outside looking in.
So next week, we go to Orlando. We play Orlando in week 2. That game is on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That would be 3 p.m. here. And I got to tell you, it's a 10-game season. You're already 0-1, and this is a division game. I don't want to sound like a drama queen here, or drama king, I guess is that the thing. But this is a must-win game. Like, you've got to even your record here. You need this win. Like, you need to beat Orlando. Now, that being said, I think you beat Orlando.
I like our chances. Going from what we saw against Houston, I really do like our chances. Hopefully they don't make too many strides compared to what we saw this on Saturday over there under Coach Buckley. But yeah,
Now,
I think the Brahmas at this point are a better team.
they'll be at home, but they've got quarterback issues already. They've already got a quarterback controversy in Orlando. It's either going to be Paxton Lynch, who did not. He looked like Paxton Lynch. You know, Leo, you remember.
Oh, I know.
He looked just like Paxton Lynch. And I am so excited. Like, one of the best things that ever happened to the Dallas Cowboys franchise, Leo, was your Broncos trading up in the first round that year to grab Paxton Lynch before we could get him, because they were all sold that Paxton Lynch was going to be the next quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And you may not like Dak Romo. Yeah, that's what we should call him from now on. You may not like Dak Prescott, but I guarantee you he's a dang lot better than Paxton Lynch, and that's who you almost ended up with in that same draft.
Yep. That very well could have happened. No, who knows where Dak Prescott would be right now, because Jerry Jones wanted Paxton Lynch, and unfortunately, so did Denver.
Mhm.
Yep. Steve Canto, Paxton Lynch is terrible. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. let's talk about this because me and you have talked about this, Leo, offline. Brian Winslow, thoughts on what Wade said about Buckley on the hot mic. So if you missed it,
Ooh.
Wade Phillips near the end of the game, when the game was decided, like it was over, he's talking with one of his assistant coaches as they kick off the ball to Orlando, and he says they just need to run the ball. And his assistant says something to the effect of, yeah, but they won't. He wants to try to get down the field and score. And Wade Phillips says, yeah, because he's stupid. He's not a real coach.
Ouch.
Man.
Not nice.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Not
Wade,
nice.
Phillips obviously didn't realize his mic was hot, and that's
Right.
not
Right.
excusing what he said.
No.
But I mean, because even how you put it very nicely on what he said, like, well, you just need to run the ball. It was more of, if it was me, I'd run the ball so we could get the bleep out of here, is what
Right.
it was, except
Right.
he didn't say bleep. and
Although
yeah,
Wade Phillips would be one of those kind of guys that would like bleep himself. Like he's that kind of guy.
yeah, true. But yeah, that was that was unfortunate. And the broadcaster said, "Oh, that's going to be whiteboard material for a long time." Yeah, and no doubt, if anybody that watched that coaches roundtable, you know that Terrell Buckley has a chip on his shoulder for that very same reason, that he thinks he had been overlooked and not given an opportunity to be a head coach when he thought he was deserving of one previously. He'd been kind of locked in as that he's a DB guy and not a head coach. And then Wade Phillips goes and says that on a broadcast on national television, confirming, at least in his mind, what Terrell Buckley says is not true, and he's upset about. I don't know if there's going to be another coaches roundtable after that, or if they do one, is it going to be with all the coaches from the South? Or are they going to mix it up a bit? Or I don't know. It might get very dicey. Interesting, because I don't think Terrell Buckley took to that very kindly once he heard it.
I can't imagine that
I'm certain he didn't.
What I was surprised, what hurt me, what hurt my heart in that moment, because I empathize with guys. I watched those two same men minutes after that conversation went out on live air. One of them knows he says it, but doesn't know it went out on live air. The other one doesn't know that he says it. And they meet at center field, share some encouraging words with each other, and a hug. And I'm like, Terrell Buckley just walked back to the locker room, and when he got back there, somebody said, you need to hear this.
Yeah.
Look, coaches don't have to like each other. That's not a requirement.
But Philip, one thing to take in consideration, I'm sorry to interrupt your thought, but as you're saying this, take into consideration, coaches don't normally have to see each other every day as they're preparing for the next week. With the setup here in the XFL, with the hub in Arlington, those guys are seeing each other today and tomorrow and Wednesday. I mean, that's going to be tough. And I'm sorry, go ahead and finish your thought, but I just wanted to say that's big.
And let's be honest, some of the sentiment behind what Wade Phillips was saying is, you could make the case that some of that is true. Like at some point you do have to realize that, hey, we got to pack up and go home and get right for next week. We don't need to score another touchdown as good as much as we want to. And you learn that through years and years of coaching. And Wade Phillips has been that guy before that wanted to score that touchdown. And he has learned that doesn't really help. That doesn't make you feel any better. Getting beat 31-19 doesn't feel any better than 31-12 or whatever it was. That doesn't fix anything. And Wade knows that. He's been there. And so some of the sentiment of what Wade was saying was true. And I'm convinced that Wade Phillips, of all people, if he had thought about the fact that his mic on his head was live, he would have said that differently or not said it at all.
Oh, no doubt.
I don't think Wade Phillips is the kind of guy that wants to upset people. He's a very likable guy. And I'm almost 100% certain that he has already had a conversation with Terrell Buckley to say, that's on me. I'm sorry I said that. Now, I don't know if Terrell Buckley's going to accept that. He probably won't. We've seen how he gets upset that he's not thought of as a real coach, and that's going to sting. That's going to sting a lot. What I'm glad I have not seen, and I almost dare not to put this out on the air because I don't want this to become a storyline, is the old white guy made a comment about the new black coach. I'm glad I haven't seen any of that. If I haven't seen it and it's been out there, please don't forward it to me on Twitter or on Facebook. Like, I don't want to see it because that's not part of this storyline. I truly don't believe that's an issue. I think Wade is saying, I've been a coach and I know we need to get out of here and make sure all our guys are healthy and just get on the bus and move on to the next game. It doesn't mean, I don't think it means anything to him that Terrell Buckley's a black guy. And I'm glad that that story hasn't gotten these legs that I kind of thought there was a chance in 2023 that it could get, the old white guy is, throwing shade at the young black coach or the new black coach. I'm glad that's not a case. Brian Winslow says that he's hearing the reason that Rod Woodson wasn't on their roundtable is because he doesn't like Wade. And that goes back years. Only thing that's weird about that, though, Brian, is their roundtable was the North, so Wade wouldn't have been part of that anyway. But that's entirely possible. I had not heard that. And look, everybody doesn't have to like everybody just to work together. I don't
That's
like
true.
everybody I work with. I do now. I'm in a job where I do like all the people I work with, but I've been in those places before where I don't like everybody I work with. You don't have to. That's not a thing.
We like each other.
I mean,
But we're
Yeah.
not really working because we don't get paid.
and we don't need to.
Work would imply, getting compensated.
So we're going to go play Orlando. I really hope that we can even our score, even our record. Where is the watch party? Because you guys that are in San Antonio are going to gather
I
together
got it.
and watch the game together. Where's that at, RC?
All right. So the event is being sponsored by our favorite Steve Ocanto. And we're going to be at the Hangar Pub. The address is 12232 Nacogdoches Road. And so what they're expecting to be there at 2:00 on Sunday. And it says, come on, come all, come on the Brahma family as we take on the Orlando Guardians. We want to see you as we party hard. There will be great drink specials. The food is delicious. We are hoping for branded merchandise. That's the key thing I like. So I'm definitely going. Anybody else going?
I'll be there. What time is kickoff for the game that day?
3. I'm sorry.
3.
4 o'clock
And then-
Eastern,
Yeah.
3 o'clock.
So the
Yeah.
party's at 2 or
And the
starts at
party
2.
starts an hour earlier at 2. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely be there. And I hope for branded merchandise. Sweet. I really like that gray and yellow trucker hat that I saw a lot of people wearing at the Dome. By the time I made it to the merch area, they were sold out. Those hats were gone, but that was a cool looking hat.
Yeah, it was a
Maybe
pretty
that'll
decent
be
hat.
there.
Yeah, maybe so.
Anybody from the Brahmas is listening.
Hey, speaking of, if the Brahmas are listening, can you create some sort of collared shirt that I can have? Something with a Brahma logo up on the chest of it that I can wear to work, because I don't wear t-shirts to work right now. But I could definitely wear a polo shirt or a fishing shirt. Fishing shirt would be the way to go. But I need something with a collar on it so that I can rep the Brahmas at work. That'd be great. I know you guys are listening, and I know you're already working on my media credentials that we just talked about. If you could get Michael Wayne Davis says, I just want a jersey.
Oh, jersey. Don't hold your breath, Michael.
I think you need to try out. If you want a jersey at this point, I think you need to try out.
Well, maybe if the attendance keeps, on the rise after a couple of games, those may become available.
Renee checking in on Facebook says, hey, Steve, is there going to be food there?
It says delicious food on the invite, so I'm going with that.
So
now,
not
it won't
just
be
food,
free
but
food.
Delicious food.
Yeah, but it won't be free food, just to make that clear.
Right.
It's not like a potluck type of event where people are bringing stuff, in. It'll be served there by the venue, but from what I understand, the food is pretty good.
Right, it's like a bar restaurant kind of thing. I don't know if kids are invited. I think someone may call, or maybe I can follow up on that. And the only reason I know that is we had a graduation party for Francesca, and it was at one of those restaurant bars. And some places you had to be 21, even with a parent, to walk in. So I'll definitely get that information and I'll put it out on the Brahma Mama page. Again, I want to thank everybody, every Brahma Mama that came out and supported us. We collected a whole trunk full of food. We had a great guacamole turnout. And so no Brahma juice for next game. I can tell you that.
Unless we make it alcoholic.
Yeah, but then we have to check for ID, and I'm not going
Then
to
you
do
have to
that.
be worried about that stuff. Yeah.
No, things have
Steve
changed.
Cantu says, yes, bring your kids.
All
It's a
right, bring your
family-friendly-
Rugrats. There you go.
There you go. Michael Wayne Davis says, as a Cowboys fan, I'm about to go buy a Steelers 86 jersey, but I don't want to soul myself like that. Michael Wayne Davis, you did not hear this on the Smokin Gunz podcast, but if you do a little bit of Googling, you will find someone that sells on Etsy a Brahmas style jersey that says San Antonio Brahmas on it and is a number 86 Ward jersey. It's out there.
Nice.
It's on Etsy. It exists. I've seen it. The only killer on it is because it's Etsy, it's going to take some time to get to you. But I think you might be able to get it here by the next game. So if you're really looking forward to that and you're just not willing to wait on the league anymore, I think a Google search on Etsy might fit the bill for you. And you might be able to wear a Ward jersey in the proper colors without it being one of those nasty old Steelers jerseys.
I just felt your media credentials pulled off the table.
And
I
there
felt
they
the
go.
presence in the
out
forest.
the
It's gone.
window. And it's gone.
And it's gone.
We just had it and it went away.
I'm excited about going for it. Man, we saw really great football. We saw really great football,
Yeah.
not just here at the Alamo Dome, but up in Arlington. That game was awesome all the way down to the end. The game in Houston, while it wasn't a close game like the other three, it was still a good football. It was good. We saw decent football played. I've seen some folks that, like, my thoughts on the XFL are these guys obviously aren't in the NFL.
We already know that.
We knew that. If you checked in on this
Yeah.
thinking you were going to get NFL talent on the field, like, some of these guys will be in the NFL, but a
Some
great
of them have
majority
been,
of them,
though.
right?
Yes. Like
So-
Jared has been in the NFL. He was playing with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Brian
Yeah.
Winslow is really, really wanting us to talk about this. He keeps mentioning it. I don't know why the national TV commercial for XFL merchandise says jerseys, but they don't sell them. Because they don't have a deal in place, because they can't find the price point they want, because they are stuck over in China in boxes somewhere and haven't gotten them shipped here yet. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I know that it was on the commercial. I know that the plan was for jerseys because they sent us all an email that said, hey,
Yeah.
sign up for pre-sales on jerseys, but then they never pre-sold them.
Maybe enough people didn't sign up for it, and that was their kind of test market.
Maybe so.
I don't know.
I'm not sure why it's in the commercial and they don't have them, but I will tell you that, and we've said this a couple of times, a couple shows in a row now, I'm not worried about it. A jersey would be nice, and I would love that, and sure, that's great, but I'd rather have a season 2 than a jersey. And if that's the decision to be made, there is no decision to be made to me. Like, do what they need to do to get to season 2 and bring me a jersey in season 2. Don't overspend or overextend yourself just to get me a jersey of a league that's going to fall apart in season 1. I don't want it if that's what it's going to mean. And I don't know that that's the case, but that's what I've got to assume, because I've got jerseys for other leagues that fell apart, and I don't have a jersey here. And Brian is such an optimist about this. We've talked about this on some other shows. He says season 2 is in the books. No worries. Brian, I heard that exact same rhetoric back in 2019 about the San Antonio Commanders. I heard it from the league. I heard it from pundits all over sports talk radio. I heard it directly from team presidents and people in the league, like from their mouth to my ears. And that wasn't true. So nothing is in the books. Until it happens, it's not there.
I'll say this. Danny Garcia has said over and over and over again that this is a long-term thing. She's mentioned like 3 to 5 years or something, and understanding that there could be losses. And you know what? Yeah, Danny Garcia is a lot more of a believable person than Charlie Ebersol was.
Yes,
if you
that's
ask me
true.
if you put two people in front and say, who are you going to choose? Who are you going to trust more? I will 100% choose Danny Garcia. But here's the thing. Charlie Ebersol lied and said he had the resources that he didn't have, right? But he was dependent on finding someone, and he thought he found someone in Tom Dundon. Okay, Danny Garcia and Dwayne Johnson have found that somebody in Redbird Financial. I forget the guy's name, the owner, the third owner of the league.
Cardinal.
Yes, but what happens if Redbird Capital, for whatever reason, looks at it just like Tom Dundon did and starts looking at the red and the black on the ledger and starts saying, you know what, this is just too much red for me from a business, because that's a businessman, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
From a business standpoint, I can no longer do this.
Support
and
it.
he pulls out, then what's going to happen? Can Danny Garcia and Dwayne, would they want to continue doing this and continue taking those losses till they get to the point where there's no more red on the ledger and they're all in the black? I don't know. I mean, maybe they're that passionate about it that they will, but who knows?
We're not all doom and gloom about this. We're just saying nothing is guaranteed.
Nothing's guaranteed.
Buy your merchandise, buy your tickets, get out there, put your money in it, put your passion in it, be excited about it, do all of those things, because that's the only thing we can do to ensure that it goes forward. That's all we can do. But I can tell you from experience that you can do all you can do as fans, and it can still fall out from under you. We've been down that road before, and I'm just realistic at this point. And I say, hey, it all sounds good. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here, because I got burned once before. But, you know,
all it takes is for one of those three to decide to back away from it. And then who knows what happens. And we don't think that's going to happen. We're definitely optimistic as well, Brian, but realistically, you never know. You just don't know.
Brian says Disney wasn't a part of the AAF, and that's true. They don't make those kind of deals. Disney's thing is a write-off thing, by the way. If they lose money on this, they'll just write it off and it's over. But I will say this, the reason that I brought up your Disney comment is great. The ESPN Plus part of this deal is amazing.
Yes.
The fact that I can go, I don't have to find some YouTube stream of the game. That's what we had to do back in the AAF days, is you had to go find a YouTube stream that didn't get shut down to watch the games after they happen. As soon as the game is over, it's on ESPN Plus, and I can watch it again if I need to. I don't even have to make sure my DVR is set to record. If I'm missing a game, I know I'm going to be able to watch it later that night, which is what I did with the DC game, at least the last 2 minutes of it. That's great. The ESPN Plus side of this thing is spectacular. I was very excited in the USFL last year that you could do that with Peacock. You could go and watch the games on delay if you needed to. And they ported that right over, and I love it. I love it. I love it. We're excited. Go ahead.
One thing that I forgot to say was that I don't know how many season ticket holders received an email about their fan experience. I know I received an email to come after the game to section 101, which I was already in, but I wasn't supposed to be. Before that, I got the invite. And then I was able to go after the game onto the field and take pictures. And I heard some people had that experience, got an email. They were able to go at 12 before the game started to watch the team kind of work out. So I do like that the XFL is listening, that we do like that fan interaction.
Just to wrap this whole conversation up about the XFL in season 2, Brian Winslow says, I'm a person that believes the future is bright. That's how I personally look on life. Here's what I want you to understand, Brian, and everybody that I've talked to about this online over the past week, where I've shared these same thoughts and I've been told you're being entirely too negative. It's not a negative thing. It's a realistic thing. I went through it. I was there. I got burned, and I got very bitter about what happened with the AAF. Bitter enough that I wasn't going to get involved in another one of these things if it came along. I've heard enough now that I'm confident that this thing has the ability to sustain. But I am always going to, until we get to the end of season 1, I am always going to be waiting for the rug to get pulled out from under us, because I wasn't ready for that. And it happened in the AAF. I thought I was told all of the right things, and I thought we were good. So it's not a negative thing. I'm very positive. I think this looks very good. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here at all. But I am realistic. And I do know that the rug can get pulled out from under you in a second. And the reason we need to realize that and understand that is we need to know that we have to buy in completely. We have to do everything we can, because there does have to be on a return on the investment in some way. And the only thing we can do is show up to the games, show up to the box office, buy your merchandise, be excited about it, share it on social media, all of those things that we call all the time for you guys to do, because that's the only thing we can do to ensure a future.
And I have to say, all the fans in San Antonio feel that way. The supportive fans feel exactly the way Philip does right now, because we have gone through that and felt it personally and been burned in the past. And it didn't just start with the AAF. It's happened, it's happened multiple times here in San Antonio. And so as a fan base, we all feel that hesitancy. And it's not necessarily being negative. It's just that we've been through this before. But yet we're still, we're still big supporters. I mean, look, we're doing a whole show. And we've said time and time again, we don't get paid to do this. We're doing this as a passion project. So if that doesn't show positivity, I don't know what would, at what level, what do we have to do to show the positivity? We have the positivity, but it's a careful positivity, just because we've been there, done that, been through it personally, been stung. And everyone that I've talked to in San Antonio, even the diehard fans, they all feel that same way. Like we're here to support, because we know we have to play our part to make this thing work. But we all have this understanding that at any given moment, something could happen that would take it all away, because it's happened time and time and time again. And it's not really having a negative outlook. It's more of an experience. And so we're just doing our part to keep that from happening. But we all understand that it's a possibility.
Yeah. So all that aside, like, that sounds like doom and gloom. It's really not.
No, it's
we
not.
are really positive, and we're excited about it, and we want it to succeed, and we hope it will succeed, and we believe it will succeed. Look, I'm not spending $30 on t-shirts. I don't do it. I just don't do it. And my wife, I walked in the door last night and I had my t-shirt, and she just shook her head, because she knows I'm spending money on this thing. I got Commanders t-shirts. I don't even take out a closet anymore. I'm not going to spend $30 if I don't think that this thing has legs. I do. But I am realistic enough to know that enjoy the time we've got and pray for season 2. And if there's little things that make the difference, I'm okay with not getting a jersey, or not having some of those things that we've gotten in some of the past things, because they're doing things different. We're going to play Orlando in 6 days, and we're going to beat Orlando in 6 days.
Can't wait.
We don't get to be there in person unless you're one of those really, really, really awesome fans that are going to go to
Brian's
Orlando.
Gonna be there.
Brian will be there.
Yeah,
but Brian's in Florida.
It's easier.
How many those folks that are going from San Antonio to Orlando, more power to you. I love you guys. Brian, I love that you're going to be there, and you're going to be cheering on the Brahmas. I hope you have some gear, even if you don't have a jersey yet. I hope you have some gear to represent in the crowd and at the tailgate that you are a Brahmas fan. Honestly, as I look at the game with football eyes, and I see what we put on the field, and I see what they put on the field in week 1, if we keep our head together and we play the game the way we played the game for 58 minutes, for 60 minutes, I see a win. Like I don't think that there's anything Orlando can do about it. But that's why we play the games, because you have to do all of the things. And hopefully Hines Ward can get this team doing all the right things. We can be 1-1 as we come back to Houston and head into TDECU Stadium and take on the Roughnecks. If we're 1-1 and they're 2-0, because I think they beat Arlington this week as well. If we go in 1-1 and they're 2-0, and we can make them 2-1, and we can be 2-1 and pull ourselves even with them, I'm so excited to be at that game. I'm so excited that if that's the way all that works out, because that'll be for the lead in the division. And hey, I know it sounds too early to start talking about standings. It's not. It's a 10-week season. We got to get on the ball. We're lucky that the one game we've dropped so far was a non-division game, because it doesn't hurt us as bad. But we need to beat Orlando, and then we need to go into Houston and bring it all to son of a bum's team. And we're going to do that.
I have confidence we're going to win in Orlando, and then when we come down to Houston, that's going to be a battle, and I can't wait to see that one. But I think we'll win that one too. I think Coach Hines learned a lot from this week, and I liked what I saw up until those last 2 minutes. So, like he says himself, horns forward. We're moving forward, and things are going to be much better in game 2.
Steve Cantu.
Love
Steve
him.
Cantu.
Brian, ask Brian if you could ask Nicole if she has a Brahma Mama shirt, because if she doesn't, I will send her one so she can wear to the game at Orlando.
Steve Cantu says, we are the unpaid promotional staff. We're the ones that'll talk about this. The XFL has more legs than the AAF. Here we are talking about a week 2, and the players are still getting paid.
That's good. That's a good sign.
Step ahead of the AAF, man. Step ahead of the AAF. One more thing as we wrap up the show. We have not talked about them much. We talked about them a little. San Antonio Gunslingers are still out there. They're still getting ready for the season. That's going to kick off on April 8th here in San Antonio against the Cobra Commandos. I almost called them the Cobra Commanders. That's not right.
No, they're not.
The Carolina Cobras, a big game, a game with a lot of storylines. But in the meantime, they're getting ready for the season. And RC, what are they doing this week to get ready for the season?
This weekend, I was invited by April from the Gunslingers to participate as a judge for the cheerleading tryouts. Woo! 2nd year in a row.
Very
I'm so
cool.
excited.
Very cool. The 6 shooters. That's
Six
what they're called. Yeah.
Mhm.
They're going to have their tryouts, and our own RC Woods is going to be a part of the judging panel for that, because that's the way it should be.
Right.
There is no bigger cheerleader for the San Antonio Gunslingers or for the San Antonio Brahmas than RC Woods and all that she does for the team and for the fans around the team. Anybody that says anything negative about RC Woods, you need to send them to me. I'll set them straight. Because she works tirelessly to make this thing go and to do special things for everybody. Even the stuff that you think is like, man, that's not my thing. She does a ton of things that I'm like, yeah, that's not my thing, but it's somebody's thing. And it's exciting that she's the one that's putting that together. No better person to be a part of the judging panel for the Gunslingers than RC Woods. And we're excited that she's going to be a part of that again. Renee checking in says, you go, RC. Pom-pom to pom-pom. I hope that's
right.
So that's going on. We've got lots to be excited about. We've got football in San Antonio. We had the whole thing. It felt like old times. It felt like we were right back in the thing that we loved so much just a few years ago. We were back in the Alamo Dome. We had our own team again. And even when they fell a little short, it was just a blast. Like the fact that we didn't win the game, it is really just a minor. Like I would have loved to have won the game. Like that would have been great. But it's such a small part of the whole experience. Like
I disagree. The win is a big part of it, but I guess, if we can't win the game, I'll take everything else except the win, which is I felt what we got. We got everything but the win. And so that sucks and it stings, but at least we got
Hey.
all the other stuff too. So
Hey, we're not going to win
Fine.
every game. We're just not going to win every single game. Like that was
I was
never
not-
in the cards.
wait, what? I wasn't told this when we started this whole thing. That we weren't gonna win every game. Well,
We just weren't going to win every single game. I'm sorry,
Well, we're
Leo. I
just
should
going
have
to lose
mentioned it.
one game. That was the
That's
one
it.
game that we lost. It's out of the
That's
way.
it. 9-1. From here on out, we
That's
we
it.
run the league.
Okay,
no
I
Only
more
can
ways
live with
losses.
up. Only ways up.
Well, when it comes to professional football, whether it's in the arena with the San Antonio Gunslingers or whether it's in the Alamo Dome, and we're not going to call it what Dirty calls it. I don't know if he's still checking in. But when we're in the Alamo Dome, the La Casa with our
La
San
Casa.
Antonio
La Casa.
Brahmas, whether we're traveling out to Orlando or we're headed out to Houston or Arlington, maybe the Gunslingers going up to Albany and Carolina. When it comes to football, professional football, we are learning every day that the 210 has got something to say.
Bang, bang.
Thanks for hanging out with us, everybody. We really appreciate all 14 of you that are still on there and all of you that are checking in after and watching this on delay. We appreciate you. We love you. Show episode, the podcast will be out tomorrow morning. Please download, even if you don't listen to it. Just please download it to your device. It helps us out. It gets us up there where our numbers start showing up and our show starts showing up for other people in our area that are interested in sports podcasts. So whatever podcast catcher you get, even if you don't listen because, hey, I was with you all night last night, that's fine. Download it. It helps us. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank
All right,
you.
folks. Gonna end it here. Thanks so much